right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right. Good even fall to one and all. This is Warp Speed, and I appreciate every single one of you, the two listeners that have that have gone live with me tonight. I know one of them is listening attentively. In fact, he is my boss or my mini boss, but don't tell him that because he probably wouldn't appreciate that. Nonetheless, we do have a couple of our listeners already on here waiting for us attentively and patiently. So thank you very much for demonstrating that courtesy of waiting while I worked on a couple of these chinks and little hiccups trying to go live. But this is your interlocutor for the night, Warp Speed, and we will have a couple of guests. We will have the homie Ricky and, of course, Dream123 joining us on this year live, mostly because I plan to interrogate them on the going ons of the sport of boxing, along with a couple of things that only they can shed light on. For example, I'm not too sure if you guys have heard the big news, but it seems like young, former undisputed two division champion Teofimo Lopez Jr. slapped Arnold Barbosa Jr. in his face in what they are now calling the slap heard around the world. And of course, if you've not been apprised of the going ons in the sport, then you probably have missed out on Trill Bill Haney having basically cursed out a reporter to his face, calling him a piece of shit. Right in his face, getting all confrontational for nothing else besides not addressing his son, another undisputed champion, by what he prefers for these reporters to call his son. He wanted this reporter to proclaim his son and describe him in his preferred pronouns. Believe it or not, this is the sport of boxing, guys, where men speak for other men, they slap each other in the face, and here we are fighting for every single one of these little shenanigans because we get emotionally invested in this incredible sport. But I'll be honest with you. Today, uh, I had to skip out on the sport because I was rather preoccupied with a appointment for one of my children, my eldest child, my daughter. We had an appointment today, and so I missed out on what was going on. I had a very long drive today, but I did want to catch up on some of the things that the homie Ricky and Dream123 sent me. Right, they've sent me a couple of links of some of these men, grown men, yes, grown men treating each other worse than females do, right? We have men slapping each other, calling each other names to their own face. And I'm not too sure about you guys, but I'm from the old school. I'm 46 years of age now, ladies and gentlemen, right? Now you're probably thinking, well, that's not that old. But or maybe you're thinking the opposite. Maybe you're thinking, man, you're absolutely, absolutely old. I don't know what you're thinking. I'm not too sure how old you are, right? But I do come from an era where if we men did these kind of things to each other, we might not make it through the night, right? And I'll tell you a little story. I'll tell you a little story how I learned how to be a gentleman. I was I think I was in first grade, living in this small little town called Chualar. Chualar is a small little country town, right up in the middle of nowhere, really. 10 or so miles out from nearest bigger town of Salinas, California. My father was a foreman, or in Spanish, major domo. I think major domo is also an Italian term. But anyways, my father was a foreman for these field workers. And because his place of employment was out there, we didn't live in the city of Salinas, which is, pretty renowned little city. And and I grew up in a small little town with a small school that had grades kindergarten to eighth grade, right? Kinder to eighth. And I was in first grade. And the way that we used to go inside of class, right? We had this playground, and everybody would line up in this long queue waiting to go to our class. And there was kindergarten class, first, second, third, fourth, all the way to eighth grade. And everybody would line up. And then the teacher would walk to each and every one of us. He'd see our face. He'd call us by our name. He'd check our name. Whoop de whoop, blah, blah, blah. That's how he took roll. That's how he took count of every single one of his students for the day. And I had just started, maybe it was my first week of school, and there was this one guy that he looked a little intimidating. He was definitely bigger than me. He had a little wicked smile, right? And his last name started with a Z. My last name starts with a V as in victory. So I was in back of him. We were way at the end of the line. He was the very last person in the line, right? So as we're waiting for the teacher to come to us to count us in for the day, demonstrate us and take us in as present, this guy was waiting in the back of me like we had to, and he pulled my hair, pulled me all the way back, basically sat me down on my behind, and he made me cry. That's how I was introduced to the world of bullyism, of bigger men taking advantage of the smaller, weaker ones through intimidation and violence, right? Now, it was easy to pick on me, right? Because for the most part, I was short and skinny, and I had curly hair and had crooked teeth, right? It was like, man, and these were the 80s, guys. I mean, there was movies like Top Gun and, you know, the A Team with Mr. T and all of these guys looking all strong and handsome, so forth and so on. And I did not look nothing like that, right? And I had, the 70s were the era of the afros, the curly, bushy hair, and I still had that because my parents, they probably thought that I was cute. They didn't know that the times had changed. This was first generation Mexicans come over here to work in the fields. I was the first generation American born and raised. And they didn't know about fashion. They didn't know about the peer pressures of society and school and fashion and being popular, nothing like that. My people come from poor people for the most part, maybe wealthy in their respect in their old country. But as far as here, they pick themselves up from the bottom up, right? So I was waiting there in line. This guy that was maybe half a foot taller than me, he got me by my bushy hair and pulled it all the way down, and he dropped me to my behind, and I started to cry. And this small town was so small that you can park your car and you can see all the action. My parents, they would drive me up to school, and they would park outside, and they could see the whole field out there. So they saw me get my behind beat. Right. I'm not too sure what conversation my father and my mother had. Maybe tell the teacher was probably what my mom said, but I did not tell the teacher. As far as I'm concerned, the teacher walked up to me. What happened? What happened? She probably had a suspicion, but I didn't say nothing because the bully was in back of me. If I wanted to say something, right, he could have beat me up. My father probably told me to defend myself. I'm not too sure. I was a small tyke. Anyways, when I was an adult,
You hear me?
yeah, I could hear you.
Oh,
When I was an adult, I had this, and I still do. I have an issue with alcohol. In fact, I have an issue with drugs in general. I have an addictive personality, but I've been a drunkard for more than half of my life, maybe three-fourths of my life. And one time I got caught drinking in public, and I went to local jail, and I spent maybe like 2 weeks, right? And there I was hanging out with some of the guys that they were serving small time because of gang related things or whatever, drugs or whatever, right? And I was having a conversation with this one guy, and he straight asked me, goes, "Hey, did you go to Chular?" Yeah. Him and I, we were around the same age. He goes, "Yeah." And he said, "Are you so and so?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, I am." He goes, "You don't remember me?" And when he said that, I knew right then and there who he was. I said, "Yeah, yeah, I remember you." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm the one who beat you up. Remember, I got you by hair, pulled you down." Yeah, yeah, I remember you. He goes, "You started to cry. Remember that, man? You had that, you had that bushy hair, and you were so small. And man, here's the one thing. As he started to, remind me of of this, of every single thing that he did and tormenting me while I was in first grade. As he was telling me that, not once did he apologize to me. Right? It was like he was probably thinking, well, why would I apologize to this guy? Right? That happened 20 or so years ago. Like, why do I have to say I'm sorry for something that I did a long time, even though we were getting along? I probably would have said, "Hey, man, sorry about what I done as a child." I would have done it, right? Because I am a person that does have regrets and does feel bad about the actions that I've done before, right? Maybe that's the reason why I try and be very pacific, very calm, very respectful of others, right? And he started going through all these things. And he was, of course, a gang related individual. So I was only there for a couple of days, weeks, and he was clicked up. What am I going to do, right? And besides, if we had fought right then and there, what would have happened is we would have gotten caught. That 2 week stint would have become months long. Most importantly, I think the cell block that we were in, we would have been castigated. They would have taken away a couple of our perks like coffee, maybe the TV, and then I would have been the guy that they would blame because they're not going to go against one of their own. So they probably would have had like a little bone to pick with me. They'd make my life a living hell right there, right? And you don't want to make gangster lives a living hell. So I just, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let this guy laugh at me, whatever, right? And he was cool. He wasn't being a jerk, but he was just like having, you know, a laugh at my expense. I think we were playing cards. Well, long story short, from that moment on, I was released from jail, and one of my siblings, he told me a couple of months after that. He goes, "Hey, do you remember so and so?" Go, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, didn't you tell me that you were in there with him?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, he just got killed." Right. Apparently, he robbed the bank and he was fleeing from the cops, and he made it to the same little town. Uh, Not the same little town, but another town more southern from there. And he was running away from the cops, and I think he was running. The gun dropped. He went to pick it up, and the cops shot him. Right. I'm not trying to say that's karma, guys. Not at all. I'm just trying to say when you are involved and negative things. Negativity begets negativity, right? Here's another little story. I may have told this one before. I was a freshman, and this one guy with he didn't have a fist, guys. He just had a knuckle. This guy that was born with a congenital deformity on his was it right hand. He beat me up real nice, so good. It was probably the best beating. Like Errol Spence getting his butt beat by Terrence Buddy Crawford. That's exactly what this guy did to me, right? This guy that was born handicapped, his hand was basically one knuckle. Like all of his fingers were, I guess you can say he was born with his hands, his one hand clenched up, and it never actually formed into a hand. It was just like a big block. He ended up beating me up because somebody threw a ninja star, a paper ninja star, hit him in the back. He thought it was me. I've never been one to snitch or point fingers. So I apologize. I said I wasn't me who did it. I don't know, even though I knew who it was. And he said, I think it was you. We're going to fight. Took me and him. We went outside to the field out back of high school. And I'm not too sure how these these news spread, but it seemed like the whole school was out there listening in, watching me and this guy get into a fight. So, long story short, I'm the type of person that comes from a generation that when we got into fights, win or lose, at the end, you shook each other's hands. If you beat up the guy, you didn't kick him when he was down. You just picked him up, shook his hand, said, I muere, or that's it. It's over. And then we would move on. For the most part, a lot of us became friends. I got a lot of friends as I was growing up that became my friends because I fought with them. I gained their respect through violence because they were my tormentors. They were my bullies. I had that same old ugly hair, the same old crooked teeth. I was skinny. I was short. Right. So I got into a lot of fights. But the weird thing, the one strange thing about this guy with that deformed hand is that after he beat me up, right, he even body slammed me. After he beat me up, I basically told him, okay, I'm ready. It's over. That's it. You won. I got up. I dusted myself off. I stretched my hand to say, hey, we're good now. And he got my hand and he pulled me forward. And with the other hand, he punched me again. And the whole school went, oh, oh. Why did this say oh? Because it was not expected that a person, after shaking their hand and saying, I give up, you're better than me, that that person would defy the laws of being a gentleman and abuse that trust, that outreach for friendship and of acknowledgement that you're a better man, to abuse that weak moment and to punch him even further, right? Everybody did the ooh and ah because he violated that trust of manliness, the word of the gentleman, everything that makes us chivalrous. He violated that. And last little story that I have to tell you. Somebody sent me a link the other day. I guess in the rough streets of Chicago, there was a lot of what they call YNs walking the street very casually with these semi automatic rifles, AK 47s, and some Dracos, and just like five guys, maybe no more than 16 years of age, walking down the street in the sidewalk, using the sidewalk, by the way, walking down the street with long semi automatic rifles. And the cars were just, you know, allowing them to cross. They were waiting on the red light. Nobody batted an eye, but some stranger to the city, he was recording everything. He was like, oh my God, look at this. Oh my God. Now, I asked, what is a YN? And apparently a YN means a young NIGGA, right? And the reason they're called YNs is because they're individuals that are of a new generation that live by different rules. There is no shaking a person's hand.
Where'd you
You
get
have
this from?
it was Instagram. It was
Yeah, I
Instagram.
know. It sounds like because that's. I mean, that's like everybody calls themselves that. Like my cousin who's
Oh, you mean YN?
yeah, bro. Like fuck. Like sorry. My cousin, he's like Samoan or
Mm,
not Samoan. He's Tongan, and
mm.
he just he once said that he's like a YN. Like it's just what kids call themselves. Like but so that's what it is. It's more of a cultural thing than you know because there's I heard this there's this meme where it says there's the ages of what you are. Like there's YN, and then by the time you hit like 35, you're like unk, you know? So it's like a phrase now, that goes beyond what it actually means, you know?
Yeah, no, no, yeah, no, and but the thing that distinguishes a YN, and I'm not gonna say the full word, right? The thing that distinguishes the YN from, let's say, the regular N, right, is that the rules have changed for the YNs.
A regular N.
No, really, a regular N. A regular N is still
Regular
somebody
N.
that, well, a regular N is not going to be walking around with a big old guns just staying slung over their shoulder, right? They're not going to be doing that. And the reason for that, here's the difference between the regular N and the YN. A regular N, like you and I, well, maybe not you, I don't think you do, but in my case, I have something to make me less reckless, right? Like, for example, YNs are known to be reckless, to be very daring, to be very violent, to not play by any kind of rules. The only rules is I survive, you don't, I get the goodies from you, and I don't care about dying, right? And the regular ends, the old heads, the unks or whatever, we have families, we have jobs to keep, we have a life that we want to preserve because we have responsibilities towards others. These YNs, they may not have that, right? Because they're so young. They don't need to worry about conducting themselves in a certain way, about being civil and respectful and obedient of laws, because they live in a world that, as far as they're concerned, has always been outside of the law. Everything that they've seen has been a type of violence that I didn't get to see, right? Like, for example, when I beat up on a guy, if I knocked him down, I wouldn't kick him on the ground. These guys not only would kick him on the ground, it would be their moment, right, to destroy that man in order to survive, right? They would have to jump on top of him. Why? Because the other person would do that to them. When I was growing up, when I knocked down a person, I didn't expect him to ever kick me. I never expected for him to jump on my head. I wouldn't do that to them, right? We're from the old generation. We were gentlemen. We would become friends at the end. There is no chance in heck that any of these guys in the type of fights and situations that these young individuals get themselves in would they ever shake hands and become friends afterwards. They would become bitter enemies, right? So that's what I was trying to get at. These YNs are different from the regular ends. Why? Because they don't have nothing to live for as much as, let's say, myself or the other people. That's the only difference. And also, the rules have changed, right? You could kick a man when he's down, you could jump on his head. We wouldn't be able to do that. You could shoot a whole house up. You could, throw hand grenades into a house. You could burn down the house and kill everybody. Back in the day, if we needed to kill somebody, it would be just the mark, the person that we intended to harm. lest we hurt anybody else, guess what? Even our own people would come after us for violating the rules of the street, which was you don't harm children, you don't harm women. With these guys, anything is possible, right? So, so you're probably asking yourself, Dream, and you're probably asking yourself, homie Ricky, good even fall to one and all. You're probably asking, what's the point of where you're going? Well, today, you two gentlemen, and I do call you gentlemen because I don't think you would stoop down to the level of the YNs, right? You guys sent me clips of Arnold Barbosa getting slapped by Teofimo Lopez Jr. And you guys also sent me clips of Trill Bill Haney calling a reporter a piece of shit solely because he did not announce and describe his son, Devin Haney, by his preferred pronouns. Those things that these two gentlemen did, right? And especially in the case of Trill Bill Haney, offend me. They embarrass me because Mr. Bill Haney is older than me. He knows better. He knows he's not supposed to call another man any kind of terms like that because where we came from, not only were those fighting words, back in the day, if you called any names like that, between grown men, not children, not teenagers, that's something else. Grown men, it would have to be a duel to the death, right? And I think Mr. Bill Haney embarrassed my generation and that of the people that came before me because he knows that's not proper conduct. He knew he was in a position of privilege to say whatever he wanted to about this other individual, knowing that that other individual could not retaliate physically or even verbally. Because if he did, that individual, that reporter, will lose his job. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, sorry, I was drinking some water right now, kind of scrolling through social media, so you're gonna have to catch me up a little bit.
Okay, homie, are you there? I know you're there, homie. I just added you onto the live.
Probably doesn't know it.
No, he hopped on, but he
Nah,
hopped
man,
Yeah,
on, but
I'm here. I'm just in the chat. Won't be on for too long, man. I mean, I'll be listening, but I gotta make some pancakes. the big back boy, he hungry. Nah,
big
man. No,
black boy.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I know you don't like to cuss on your show, but who is Bill Haney? Where does he come from? What's his background? So I really wouldn't. I don't expect anything less from him. Um,
what do you mean?
He's black, bro. Like that's what he does. Like I mean, there's just no other way to. You think he's gonna keep it professional? Like you know,
What do you mean?
like
Blacks don't keep it professional? Is that what you're saying?
always that's just the truth. They rarely if ever do. Look at the ref. Did he keep it professional when they robbed Lamont Roach? What about the whole fiasco there? Like they don't keep it professional, bro. They never have. Um, they're always looking to get an upper hand. When they don't get that situation, you know what I mean? They cry foul, they scream, they cry about it. I mean, it's just what it is. It's like, bro, I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Tessitore or whatever his name is, but at the end of the day, bro, it's like, okay, he didn't call Ryan Garcia as he announced his name, PD user Ryan Garcia from Victorville, California. They just called him by his name. And that was the reason he had to, like, out of all of the guys to be talking ish about, they went after Joe Tessitore. Like, come on, Bill. Like, so it's just whatever, bro. It's just Bill Haney just being a clown, bro, acting like a fool. Like he's look, I understand. No way, Kyle Hughes chick gone. Salary reasons. That dude's only worth like $1 million a year. That's sad. Um, so yeah, bro, I don't really expect much from Bill Haney. After that whole situation, I realized, nah, dude, this dude, he's not who he thinks that he is, or he's trying to show the world, that he's just all about, he's all about himself. That's just what it is. All about himself, all about his son, which is fine. There's nothing particularly wrong about that. But, anything that he deems a little bit unfair towards his side, guess what? Oh, man, they're trying to blackball us. They don't want us to be independent and strong. They don't want us to show us the inside of the game, all of these things. And then when there's a little bit of criticism, right? He turns his back all on Floyd Mayweather. Let me give you an example, right? Floyd Mayweather gave him all the knowledge in game, right? And instead of signing with Floyd, what does Bill Haney do? He signs with Eddie Hearn. And then when he's trying to do business with Eddie Hearn, now he's beefing with Eddie Hearn. Why are you beefing with Eddie Hearn? It makes absolutely no sense. Now he's beefing with Top Rank because they didn't announce your name, bro. Just a clown, bro. Just like, I mean, I can keep going, but dude, it's just ridiculous. And when you really paint it down to the factors, well, he's a street dude that got played, right, by Ryan Garcia. That he's supposed to be the smartest dude in the table, Bill Haney, right? And he got played. And then now he's crying about it. It's like, nah, bro. You guys have been doing some interesting, some very good business this whole time, getting the upper hand of all of these opponents. Now, when somebody, retaliates and they reciprocate that effort towards you, oh, bro, I'm gonna get the law. That's when he uses the law to his favor. You know, just a snake, bro. But yeah, man, I don't really care so much what he says anymore, bro. It's just like, bro, you're done and over with until you beat Ryan Garcia. And that's just what it is.
Okay, yeah. Well, I do have an issue with you making it about black, because you could have just said he's a black dude from Oakland, because you made it seem like all blacks are unprofessional. You could have said he's a black guy in the sport of boxing and they're not as professional as, let's say, the Eastern Europeans or the Mexicans or whatever. But then you even have to look at the fact that Teofimo Lopez has been, and even Ryan Garcia have been acting recklessly and even in worse conduct than 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 black fighters, right? So I do have a bone to pick with that. Nonetheless, you are entitled to your opinion. If I was to say something, I would say the kind of attitude that Bill Haney demonstrated is very typical of a street individual, right? Especially from the city of Oakland. They're very hype. They're hyphy. In fact, they're crunk. That's really what they pride themselves about, being hurrah and rah rah and loud and all kinds of things. That is a cultural thing. I get that, but I do agree it is a bit hypocritical that you act like a street individual when the news and the reporters are there before you, but yet you want to take everything to the courts and through the legal system when it doesn't behoove you in the same way, right? And so it's like, I'm not trying to say that if you're street, you shouldn't use this law. In fact, that you're probably going to be like, that's exactly what a street person would do: violate the law when they can, and then use it to their advantage when they could, right? But back in the day when we were young, we didn't use the law. We were outside the law. We were in violation of the law, right? If we were living that kind of life, we were criminals, and we did not snitch. We did not talk to the police. We did not call the police to come to our rescue because we were living outside of the law. It seems like this individual that is born and raised in Oakland, he wants to have it both ways. So I could, maybe grant you that. But as far as making it about a black thing, I don't think so, because there's a lot of black fighters out there that do not conduct themselves like that. Abdullah
Yeah.
Mason, we have Brian Norman, we have all of these other cats that they conduct themselves with a professionalism that I respect, and Shane Mosley and all these other cats, Bernard Hopkins, so it's not as simple as the way that you describe it. You were gonna say something, Dream?
Yeah, I just seen Vince Vargas's avatar. That shit is so funny.
Who is
Um,
it?
it's the Chappelle, Dave Chappelle. That's, yeah,
Really?
yeah, it's hella funny. I forget what it is.
Hey, Mr. Vince Vargas, good even fall to you, sir. Good even fall to you. That's Chappelle.
Yeah, that's pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
man.
what do you think, Dream? Like for example, obviously you missed out on these news, right? But they had this press conference, and I'm not even too sure why Turkey Ali Sheik is promoting this fight so much. Turkey Ali Sheik has a heck of a weekend planned for us on the first week of May, right? We have Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero and who knows who else, right? Fighting in the middle of New York City, Times Square, to be exact, right? And one
Well,
day, and then 2 days later, we have Canelo taking on William Skull in Saudi Arabia. He's planning a very incredible week, not weekend, week of boxing for us, right? And it's still like a month and a half to 2 months away, man. They don't have to promote it that much because these these venues, these fights, they sell themselves. Nonetheless, he presents us a press conference, and I'm not too sure if you saw this, right? But Teofimo Lopez, there's this game, I think it's called Final Fantasy or something like that, right?
fatal,
Or
fatal
what
fury,
is?
no?
No, 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 no. Yeah, so Fatal Fury is a video game, and the whole premise behind these fights is Fatal Fury in real life. But there's this game which is like a role playing game. I think it's a Disney game. But anyways, long story short, there's this guy that has like this big old broadsword. It's like 5 feet long, bro. It's like maybe 15 feet long sword, right? And it's in a video game. And Teofimo Lopez walks up in there with this sword like that's like 10 feet long, bro. It's ridiculous, right? And it's huge. And he's wielding it around, and he's acting like this, like like a video game character, right?
Mm.
And Arnold Barbosa, because he's from the West Coast, he's from LA, he's not with that shenanigans, right? He's all watching this guy acting like a fool. And then they tell Teofimo, please put down your sword. He puts down his sword, and these guys come face to face. Now, I'm sure that you've been watching the back and forth. That Barbosa walked up to Teofimo and he told him, bro, Terence Crawford, little brother to you. And you had this guy right there, and you've been talking about black folk, and you couldn't even say nothing in his face. You're a punk. And he called him a bitch or something like that. And then Teofimo was, yeah, yeah, I'm the biggest one. I'm the biggest bitch you know, right? So Teofimo Lopez, he's a little psycho, man. He's from New York. They don't get intimidated by much, right?
I think
So,
I think he
mhm.
says into something in the lines of, uh, like, you ain't shit, and then he goes, "No, you're right. I'm the shit," or some shit like that.
or something, man, right? Some funny stuff like that. So these guys have been going back and forth, and you do understand why Arnold Barbosa has a bone to pick with Teofimo Lopez, right? I mean, you know where their antagonism stems from, don't you?
Who and who?
Teofimo Lopez and Barbosa. That's what we're talking
Nah,
about.
not really, bro.
So you don't know why they dislike each other?
I mean, they're supposed to promote the fight.
No, no.
I think
So
because he didn't really duck him, bro. I mean,
yeah, well, he never fought him, even though he was his mandatory,
yeah.
right?
Well, now he's fighting him.
Yeah, he is. But what I'm saying is, Arnold Barbosa has a dislike for Teofimo Lopez, and he has a dislike for all these other guys that had belts at 140 because, according to him, he should have had a shot to fight those guys since he was number one in like two or so sanctioning bodies, right? They just never gave it to the guy, right? So he's always been calling Teofimo Lopez punk for having quote unquote ducked them. Now you and I know that that's not really the case, right? It was how are you gonna duck Arnold Barbosa for guys like Josh Taylor or the other kind of guys, Steve Claggett or whatever, right?
Like he's
I
the one
mean,
that's moving up.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like he's moving up. He has to, become acclimated to a weight division, right? But for whatever reason or another, Arnold Barbosa has been avoided by some of the fighters at 140. So now that he has his shot, now that he got a baby belt, having beaten Jack El Gato Caterral, now he's like, see, it's my time. And now you're across from me. and I'm gonna take it out on you because you didn't give me the shot when I demanded it, right? And Teofimo Lopez is like, whatever, bro. I don't know you nothing. Long story short, that's where Teofimo Lopez uh, has been on the, the shit uh, bucket of Arnold Barbosa, and Teofimo Lopez doesn't care. So one guy doesn't care about the other guy. The other guy has a bunch of resentment towards this other individual, right? And it came to a head today, right? These guys squared off, and Arnold Barbosa made the mistake of having slapped the cap off of Teofimo Lopez's head, right? Teofimo Lopez, his head went flying. Teofimo Lopez, if I'm not mistaken, took off his jacket. He walked right up to him and he just threw a left hand. It was so quick, Dream. It was like lightning, right? It reminds you of when Plant tried to slap Canelo, and Canelo slapped him back, right? But guess what? Teofimo Lopez did not miss, and he just planted a big, wet, sloppy slap right over the face of Barbosa, and then of course everybody held each other back. And man, it was just incredible. You told me you didn't see that.
Yeah, I seen that. It was it was kind of funny. I think
Funny.
yeah,
How
cuz
so?
Tio yeah, cuz I don't know. I think Tio isn't really scared, but he's more like cautious. Like I feel like he's like Arnold's trying so hard to intimidate him, but it ain't working, But he is like wary of what he can do, but I feel like Tio's like, like he's the one that's like the antagonizer to Arnold,
Mm,
So it's just, Arnold trying to little bro him, and Teal's just finding little ways to be sneaky. And that's how the fight's gonna be, bro. He's gonna be way too sneaky for him. Like he really wants to win now. Like Tio when he really ain't scared, I feel like he's just on top of his game, bro. Or like not scared, but like when he really wants to win and prove everyone wrong, like
mm,
that's when he's like at his best, bro. Like he only does good against hard opponents, you
yeah.
know? Like he only does good against good opponents, bro. Whenever it's someone we don't know, it's always a close fight. That's just how it is with Tio. So I feel like don't be surprised if he dominates Arnold, bro. And Arnold just can't do shit because he's running, you know? But he's just too fucking explosive and he's too sneaky. Kind of like how he got your hat, you know? Or
And
not hat,
slapped
but
you.
not hat, my bad. Slapped him, my bad. Kind of like how he slapped him, But that's
Jeez.
how Tio is, bro. He's just like I feel like Arnold's just he's a smart fighter. He's just not explosive. He's not fast enough for Tio. Like he doesn't do anything at a high level, but he does everything well. You know,
Mm,
he's well balanced
mm,
um and he can be sneaky, bro. Like like Arnold can catch him, and it could catch Tio by surprise, but he just does not punch that hard, bro. I think Tio had it harder with what's his name
Claggett.
Claggett. Yeah, I think Claggett is would give Arnold a tough time. Damn near the same type of style.
Mm,
But one's more comes forward, and that would be like a good fight for him. But if he can go through that and go through, you know, other tough fighters like Sandor Martin, you know, uh, then shit, man. Like I think Tio got it in the bag, but uh, we'll see, man. Arnold really wants to win, and I just don't think he's. I don't think he's. I don't think he's gonna be able to. He's gonna have to catch him. That's the problem. Like he's gonna have to hurt him to really get his respect. You know, so I don't think Arnold punches hard enough, really, to like make Teal scared. I think Teal's just gonna kind of use the ring and
Mhm.
yeah, because I mean Sandor Martin knocked him down. Don't forget that Sandor Martin knocked down Tio, and it was more like a flash knockdown. You
Yeah.
know, so that could very well happen with him too. You know, but does does Arnold Barboza do what Sandor does? Sandor's frame is smaller than you think. Sandor is like damn near Teal's height. You know, Sandor's like 5'7". I think Teal's like 5'4", 5'5". I think, and then or no, Teal's taller maybe, but they were damn near the same height. You know, um, and what's his name? Barboza's like 5'10", 5'9", kind of
Mhm.
built like Josh Taylor.
Mhm.
So for me, I look at that and I'm like, you're not even. And I look at your knockout ratio, and you if you're like built like that, you gotta have some kind of, and you're getting knocked out like you're getting knockouts at that frame. You're getting knockouts by an accumulation, and you're doing. And if you're actually knocking them out, you're a dog. You know, like it takes a special type of like person to get knockouts like a tank at that frame at that weight. You know, so um yeah, that's why I look at. It reminds me of dudes like Leo Santa Cruz. You know, Leo Santa Cruz was getting knockouts, and he was built tall, skinny. You know, and I don't. You know, that's not Arnold. Arnold's at 140. You got to have way more power at 140 to really get dudes respect. Some dudes are actually punching like welterweights at 140. You know, so I don't know. I, I think Tio got it in the bag. It could be a close fight, but for me, I just look at the styles and I'm like, this thing's gonna go the distance, and I feel like
Mhm.
it's not gonna be a shocker. I think this is one of the more expected because he's the roll because Tio's a roller coaster, right? Like he
Yeah.
always upsets me. Like he always ends up.
He upsets you.
I
He
stay.
surprises you.
You surprised, yeah, like I guess money wise because of bets, and I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna stay away from this guy. Like this guy is such a roller coaster, man. You know, he made so many people money. You know, so I don't know. This guy is a roller coaster, but I think I got a good feeling just because I see how he's loose. You know, you could just tell, bro. Like I really don't think he's like embarrassed of who like I'm not saying that he's been like cringy and like in the press or anything like that, but he's like yeah, you could tell like he's kind of feeling himself and he doesn't really care, you know. So I think his confidence is like at an all-time high, bro. So
Yeah, he's
and
like the
notice,
Kanye West of boxing, bro.
I guess, you know, but there's no real figure like that big in boxing anyways. But like as a whole, but you know, with Tio, bro, Um, Teal's just, you know, such a damn roller coaster. And you notice his dad wasn't there, or his dad hasn't been there, you know.
Hmm.
And I
What
don't
does
know
that
what
mean?
that means.
He disagrees
And
with the son acting like this, or
no, 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 because his dad's like kind of shouting from the stands. You can hear him, and I don't think it has to do with that. I think it has to do with that whole thing with Keyshawn Davis, and I think that's really when shit went the other way. You know, like he was kind of upset with his dad, because yeah, the rumors were that Keyshawn, you know, decked his dad, Keyshawn Davis, and I think
whoa,
yeah, and I think after that, they were like not in each other's like you know, like they were still cool, but I mean, in training, but he wasn't in his corner, you know, and that's why Tio is with Eddie Reynoso. So that's what
mm,
happened, and that's another thing. He's with Reynoso, you know, he's training to be even more explosive. The man's already explosive, you know, and he's probably gonna add some IQ, and he's probably gonna listen now. You know, he there is probably, you know, like probably like a language barrier between him and Eddie, But
Why? You don't think they
uh,
speak Spanish?
nah, it's broken. It's like me. He's like me, like
Say
Tio.
something in Spanish.
Nah, because I'm not gonna, I'm
It's
just gonna
not
talk.
broken. It's
It's broken.
completely shattered, bro.
I don't feel like like flexing my Spanish right now. I can speak Spanish.
You call it flexing?
Yeah, I speak good Spanish. But I'm
Oh.
saying Tio's like it's like me, you know? It's like basic and it's like he can get certain words out and he understands it, you know?
Mhm,
So I think when you're understanding it at a simple level, you know, it's not going to be complicating the information that's coming. It's like,
mhm,
you know, that I don't know when you're speaking English to me, and it's the way you say it to me, and it's what you're saying to me. You know, it's how you're saying it to me. That's what
mhm,
I'm like. Okay, there's two different elements, but in Spanish, like I'm gonna be gringo, and I'm be like, hey man, I understood what you said. All right, you know, like that's probably how Russians look at us Americans. You know, they look at our trainers like, you know, like the Emmanuel Stewarts, like the greats, and they look at them and they're like, there probably was a language barrier, but they kept in their eyes and their ears and their brain, they kept everything simple for them. It was
mhm.
simple for them, you know. So I think, you know, stuff like that. I think Tio, I see Tio doing good just because not only is he in his corner, but he's in his training camp, you know.
Mhm.
So we could see a way better Tio, you know, a way better Tio. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is like one of the more expected wins from Tio. Like this is something that we expected and it's going to happen type of thing. But that's just my what I feel. Like that's just my
Yeah, I found it to be very it's and you know the thing I was trying to remember. I was trying to remember about the sport, right? The sport of boxing has always had its anti-heroes, right? Jack Johnson, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Mayweather, Ricardo Majorga, nowadays Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. We've always had those, and Teofimo Lopez, of course. And Gervonta Tank Davis. We've always had people admire the bad boys, the people that aren't the heroes, the bad guys, right? Or the ones that play that part, right? And so this is not new that we have individuals like Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Tank Davis, or Teofimo Lopez acting the fool because even though we hate to admit that we're attracted to him, that's exactly what we are, right? We say we dislike him, we say we're repulsed, we disagree with what they're saying or what they're doing. We go up in arms and oh man, this guy's being racist or this guy said this or so forth and so on. Those guys are the ones that draw the most attention. They're the ones that pack the stadium because we want to see them lose. Or some of us, maybe subconsciously or on the underground, on the down low, we cheer them on because they may be saying or thinking those things that we would like to say or think, right? I was a bit disappointed in Arnold Barbosa having walked up there and slapped the cap off Teofimo Lopez because he should be more respectful, right? As an individual of Mexican American descent, we know, especially from the area of Los Angeles, we know that if you act like that, bro, you're gonna get into a fight, right? You know the rough streets of LA. You know those places. You're not supposed to act like that because there's gonna be retaliation. He should have expected Teofimo Lopez to slap something off of his face, right? He didn't have any hats. So what did he do? He pushed him. And then I think, Barbosa pushed Teofimo Lopez back. And then this guy just went for the slap, right? But I was also equally disappointed in Teofimo Lopez because in Teofimo Lopez' dream, I, I, I I see an individual that the Mexican fan base should really come together to support. Why? Because he's Hispanic, because he speaks Spanish, because he's with Canelo, and most importantly, because he fights everybody.
I
Believe it or
think that
not,
I think the
that's the
fact that
thing.
he's with Eddie, that's the main. thing that'll bring more Mexicans to him, to gravitate towards him.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be that though. It should be the fights that he's been taking on, right? Because when we think of Mexicans, the reason a Mexican fighter, or we call them cab drivers or taxi drivers or whatever they call them, right? The reason they call them that is because they pit Mexicans against every single individual, whether they're ready for it or not. Right, whether they have a winning, whether the fighter has a winning record, whether the Mexican fighter has a winning record or not, they always put Mexican fighters at very disadvantageous situations. Right, that's why a lot of these Mexican fighters have the kind of records that they do. You might have fighters that have 30 fights, 10 losses. Why? Because their beam is managed, or the Mexican never ducks any kind of smoke, or even if they wanted to, they just don't treat him fair. Sort of like what the homie Ricky was hinting at. He was insinuating that the African American fighter, and they do say African American because it doesn't apply to all black fighters, the African American fighter gets better treatment than the brown fighters, than the white fighters, in organizations like Matchroom or Top Rank, and especially at the PBC, right? So I think that's where that comes from. But when I look at Teofimo Lopez, I look at an individual that the Mexicans would be like, you know what? I know he's not Mexican. I know he's not from LA. He's not from California. He's not from Chicago, but I could root for this guy because he's fighting the best, win or lose. Right. So I was very disappointed when he slapped this guy, because again, that brings me back to my generation. We didn't behave that way because we knew those kind of actions can be fatal to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Well,
okay. Now, do you know what happened with the Trail Bill?
Trill Bill.
Yeah, yeah. So you didn't get to see the interview where he called what's his name, Joe Tessitore, piece of shh.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Ring magazine interview.
Oh yeah, yeah. Can you explain to us what happened?
Yeah, so this guy was interviewing Bill Haney,
Hmm.
and was trying to interview him, I guess, and things kind of like took a left turn, uh, because this guy Bill Haney was, I guess, insinuating that he was being disrespectful by not mentioning, um, the fact that uh, he didn't like call him like undefeated or any of that, and it rubbed him off. But I didn't get to see like the press conference and from the beginning, um, because I guess that's when he was like, introducing everyone, and yeah, and it's straight just he calls Bill Haney calls Testora, or what's his name? That dude's
Well,
name?
I thought it was Tessitore, but I don't think it's actually
Nah, it's not
Tessitore.
him. It's I think it's
No,
somebody
huh?
else. Nuh-uh. I forget his name. But anyways, he's like one of the he's not like the guy that actually like out of all the commentators in the zone, this commentator was actually like is more like the reasonable one. Like he's the one that's like good on my end. It's really just the Max, or what's his other name? I forget his one that's dating Sinesia Estrada. Um anyways, that guy, and I'm also tired of fuck, man, I'm forgetting names right now. But yeah, I'm forgetting names. But anyways, yeah,
Todd
Bill Haney.
Grisham. Todd Grisham.
Yeah, there we go. Him, Todd. That guy
Yeah,
is actually reasonable, bro. That he's
yeah. He's
reasonable.
very reasonable, actually.
Yeah, he's like out of all of them, he's like the most chill one.
Yeah, I
The other,
know. I
the other
know,
guys,
right? He
the
probably
other
did
guys.
confuse him for Tessitore.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, but the other, it's really, and then the other guys, who's a former fighter? I forget his name. Sergio Mora. There we go. That guy is like really passive aggressive sometimes, and I don't know, it's just he he knows his boxing, but I do miss uh Jim. I mean Jim. Um Dude, my brain's all over the place right now. Roy.
Todd.
Roy
Oh, right.
Roy, because Jim
It's not.
Lampley. Jim
They changed the
Lampley's back.
time, bro. They changed the clock back, so you're
Yeah,
probably
no,
you're still
it's really 10
confused.
right now. It's really 10 right now. But yeah, dude.
For real, son.
Yeah, because Jim Lampley's back, so it's like might as well bring him back. But yeah, out of all of them, Todd is actually the cool one. And
Yeah.
Bill Haney decides to called him a piece of shit twice, and you can tell Todd was like bothered, bro, because he had this serious face and he was like really like
Like
upset.
what?
He was upset, bro. Like
Like what did you just call
yeah,
me
like,
and
"Are you
why?
serious? Okay, I don't know if I can," like, you can tell he was like, "I don't know if I can take this amount of disrespect anymore. Imma end this interview." He goes, "Really? I don't," Bill Haney was, telling him, like, he's like, "Man, yeah, that's why you're disrespectful and all this," and calls him a piece of shit, and "This is a circus show," and then he's, "Well, really? I think your son's a great fighter,"
And
and he
Todd was like, "Wait, are you confusing me for another white guy?"
yeah, and then yeah, so he was, like, really bothered, bro, and, he didn't deserve that heat.
Yeah.
So, that's messed
Yeah,
up out
let's
of Bill.
Yeah, that was very messed up. So I'll give everybody a recap right now. But let's just read a couple of these messages. Mr. Vince Vargas, good even for you. Jesse James Guerrero, the nephew of Robert the Ghost Guerrero, he won over the weekend by decision. Were you able to go over there, Mr. Vince, Mr. Vargas? Were you able to attend that event, or how do you know? Is it that Jesse James reported that? I'm not too sure. I didn't get to attend. I was very busy over the weekend, but yeah, it's good to know that Jesse James won. Jesse James, by the way, guys, I know the gentleman personally. Well, it's not like we're buddies, right? But I've had the privilege and in fact the honor of speaking to him, his father, his uncle, his grandfather. The Guerrero family, ladies and gentlemen, it shouldn't surprise you. They're not only legends of the central coast of California, but they're in fact a wonderful family. I have nothing but respect and admiration for that family. And in fact, the conduct of professionals and of respectful gentlemen starts from the grandfather, Mr. Ruben Guerrero. He's an he's a great man. He really is a great man. Let's see what Mr. Vince Vargas says. I wonder if there's going to be undercards for those fights. Well, Mr. Vargas, if you're referring to Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, Arnold Barbosa, and Teofimo Lopez, and there's another fight. What's the other fight, Dream? There's three fights in that. Oh, Bill Haney. Bill Haney's going to be, I mean, Devin Haney's going to be fighting JC Ramirez. You don't need undercards for that, Mr. Vargas. They're free. If you can get yourself to New York on that weekend, all you have to do is I don't know, walk into Times Square, and you'll be able to see these guys as close as you can get yourself in. Those cards don't need undercards. Those are all almost main event fights, right? Mr. Vargas says, he continues, he says, I did not know Robert the Ghost Guerrero had a son who fights. Yeah, it's Robert Guerrero Jr. I always thought Robert and my son would cross paths. I really did. But I think Robert Jr., he started before my son. They're around the same age. Maybe he's a year and a half older than my son, which is no big deal. But I think maybe uh, when it comes to the amateur rank, they started around the same time. But the junior Guerrero, he was just more active. So when my son was able to get maybe four or so fights in a year, this young fella, who's a very good fighter, by the way, very good fighter, by the way, he was probably getting more like eight or nine and attending tourneys. So he's a very good fighter. We never crossed paths, but hopefully one day, we'll be able to have some sparring session with them in order for my son to learn from him, because obviously my son started quite late. Um, Naomi Ricketts says, "Yep, Ghost has a son, tall ass kid. The Mexican G, good even for the you, the Mexican. Good to see you here, brother. The Guerreros are only legends to the tomato community. Well, it's not the tomatoes, man. It's not the tomatoes. It's the garlic. capital of the world. Gilroy, Gilas. It's capital. They don't have tomatoes over there, man. Three fights. Mr. Vince Vargas fist up. Robert Garcia and Fernando too. They worked the fields. Yup. Or tomato daddy. You mean northern community? Haha. The homie Ricky says. The Mexican G says. I was confused when I heard Garlic was the garlic capital. I thought it was the tomato capital because the city produced the guerreros. Oh God, the Mexican gin. I don't know. It's like I don't know. He probably has something personal. He probably knows the Guerreros. He was probably like I don't know, like what's his
I
name?
said that on purpose.
Yeah, I know, I
No,
know.
he said a while back. Remember, he was like following them, and he was like, like antagonizing them on the comments.
Oh my God.
Let me ask you guys a question, bro. Why is Teofimo Lopez? How come he's not the main event? And you have Ryan versus Rolly. I get that Ryan is more popular, but that's almost like as bad as PBC selling us a pay per view where they're not even champions on the card. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you want to take that one, Dream?
Yeah, well, I mean, because Tio can't doesn't sell pay-per-views. He's not proven to sell pay-per-views. Uh,
But he's
so
also a New Yorker. This fight supposedly is taking place at the at the Madison Square Garden, but the what's that place called right there?
the Times
Times
Square.
Square.
Times Square. So that only makes sense to host a New Yorker. Last time Devin and Ryan held fights over there, I don't even think they like sold out the arena or did great on the pay per view.
Yeah, it's just they have all these numbers, right? And they still decide not to have a fight in the West Coast. So
Yeah,
it's like you got
this is confusion.
yes, and it's like why are you doing this in all the way over there? Like Tio should be the main event. Like I see where you're going with this. It's just they ran out of, they should have waited, and or I don't know what the holdup is, but this was maybe an Alcatraz fight. If they wanted to be really unique as far as location, then think of like unique locations in the West Coast. Even if it doesn't have to be Alcatraz. There's shit. There's nothing in Bakersfield. I'm just trying to see the median, but I don't know. Maybe they did have a press conference and Santa Monica Pier, one time. I forget which fight that was, but places like that, um,
That was
and
for the Bud Crawford fight.
yeah,
But that
yeah,
made sense because, well, it made sense to have a press conference at the at Santa Monica Pier because the fight was taking place in L.A. It's just dumb to have Terrence Crawford versus Madrimov. They don't even have L.A. roots.
yeah. I
So,
know.
like, I don't know. Like, it's interesting that you're throwing money, but you got to pander and play to your crowd. And
Yeah.
that's what you would do. The Santa
So
Monica Pier, the Santa Monica event for Ryan Garcia. Dude's fucking from there. It
yeah,
would be smart to have Devin Haney fight in Alcatraz because he's Bay Area. Like, bro, it's this dude, Turkey Al Sheik. I'm telling you, just because you're rich and you throw a lot of money doesn't necessarily
he
mean
doesn't.
that you're throwing the right party to the right crowd. You know what I mean? It's like fucking, you know. Never mind. I
He
just fucking
doesn't.
that
He
one.
doesn't get geography, bro. He doesn't get the geography. He looks at the map and says, "Ah, that's pretty. That's United States. It's right there." And he doesn't. It's like having my scheduling coordinator for my job is from LA, and I drive all the way to like Modesto and like these crazy like 2 hours out because they're not from out here. To in their eyes, they're like it's right there, but and then I'm also getting the hours, so I'm not complaining. But that's like they think that it's close, but in reality they're from LA. They don't get how far that is. So it's like that's the exact same thing with him. It's like he's from out there. He's not like knowledgeable of the distance it is, bro. Like you gotta fly out there, bro. Like East and West Coast is not like that. It's about I forget, like the 30 or 40 something hours to get all the way to the East Coast from here. So it's just, yeah, it's more than a day to get there, but
Yeah,
yeah, bro.
Turkey has to realize, bro. He's inviting. It's like he's throwing these big events, but everything how he moves and how he presents these big old Great Gatsby freaking parties. It's like inviting black people to a KKK party. It's like, bro, what are you doing, bro? It doesn't really make any sense how this guy goes about navigating. Like, bro, throw Terrence Crawford at the Cornhuskers, Nebraska Stadium. I guarantee you 100,000 people will show out. You know what I mean? It reminded me like PBC when they were having all of these fights all over the world, and then they put Jermel Charlo versus Brian Castano in LA in the StubHub. It's like, bro, why aren't you having Jermel fight in Houston, in Dallas, where his roots are from Texan? And like, it doesn't, whatever, bro. But yeah, these dudes are he's just dumb, bro. Did you guys already talk about like the whole situation with him and his rallies and the Turkey Ali Sheik beef with the WBC? Have you guys elaborated on that, or are you guys
Mm-mm.
still talking about Barbosa, how he was slow and how he wanted like?
No, we haven't.
Uh,
You can
You can though.
no, I mean I don't want to like accelerate the show if you guys are still talking about Arnold
accelerate
Barbosa.
it.
The way I'll say this is like for a while Arnold Barbosa has been blackballed by Top Rank, or brownballed by Top Rank. Because you got to look at it like this, bro. This dude,
Whitewall.
after the Alex Cholo fight, that was a badass fight. Alex Cholo Salcedo, right? Had an amazing, incredible fight versus Lenny Zapovinga. Bro, like a brutal, nasty fight, bro. Brutal, 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 brutal. And Arnold Barbosa had a very good fight and retired Alex. From that point on, he should have been kind of like in front of the line. And somehow, some way, in some shape, form, or fashion, Top Rank just did not want to give Barbosa that fight versus Jose Ramirez. Because these guys were the poster child for Top Rank. It was Jose Ramirez doing this route, Teofimo's beating Lomachenko. So, they don't want to, like, feed Arnold, this dude that is crafty, he's got height, he's got good jabs, he's got decent athleticism, he's got good boxing IQ, but he's got, like, 13,000 followers. You know what I mean? So there's like, bro, this guy probably beats all these dudes that we have in our stable currently at 135 and 140, but we're not gonna. This guy doesn't have the makings of, or the look, or the political, socio-economical background story like a Jose Ramirez, like the flamboyant, fashionist, outspoken of Teofimo Lopez. Arnold is just, a thoroughbred, hardworking dude with tats on his face. It's hard to promote a Tekashi 6'9", especially if he's not gonna be like, then my blicky, you know what I mean? So, like, I don't know, bro. Like, that's what I'm saying with Arnold. It's like, bro, you gotta play along and get along, So, but he's doing the right things now. But he's like 34 now, so it's just like, even if you beat Teofimo Lopez, bro, are you gonna call out Ryan Garcia? Like, he should be G-checking every single one of these kids, so he can get that notoriety of, oh man, I've been blackballed. I'm the dark horse of the division, but this dude, he getting slapped over here by you know, drug fiend kid. It is what it is, man. I don't know.
Is you dumb? Is you stupid?
No, I mean seriously, bro. Like Arnold, I love Arnold, bro. I really like how he silenced everybody from the UK. I was really proud, very excited for him. But yeah, no, man. He just has to do more. Hopefully he does get those opportunities. And he's off on a great tear, bro. Beating Jose Ramirez, beating Jack Catterall, on the opportunity to beat Teofimo Lopez. Now he has to succeed, bro, because as we saw just off this press conference, right? I don't want to read too much about press conferences and things of that nature and body language is not, but Teo is way shorter, but he's extremely athletic. He's gonna lunge, he's gonna leap, he's gonna throw power shots. And Arnold, I'm sure he's studious, he's crafty, he's gonna know what to prepare for and stuff like that. But come on, man, like you gotta know what Teo is bringing at this table. He's not gonna try to outbox you with a jab. It's gonna be hard power shots. It's gonna be very interesting. And Arnold's got to be like, yeah, bro, I don't care if you sign with Eddie Reynoso and Canelo Alvarez. Those guys are bums. I'm better than them. He got to be on that type of attitude. But I'll be rooting for him though.
But yeah, that should be a good fight, man. It's just for me, I've never been big on Arnold, but he did definitely um put me like put me on notice when he beat Catterall. Not to say I didn't see that coming. It wasn't a full upset to me. Because to me, Catterall was not very beatable, but you can tell n- uh, uh, JC Ramirez would have given him a tough fight as well. There's a lot of fighters out here that would have given him a tough fight. It's just um
Well, I think Jose Ramirez would have lost to Jack Catterall. You know, I think um, I think Teofimo would have struggled too. You know, so there's not a lot of fighters that can find a way. Because in order to beat Jack Catterall, you have to be more disciplined and patient than him. Arnold showed that he can do that. You know, in the sense that he was very creative with the 2-1. It was always the two that he would throw like his little jab and then come over the top with the one. And bro, that was landing all day and all night. You know, that sequential punch is 2-1 over the top of the, the little shoulder roll that Jack has. And Arnold was more disciplined than him, bro. Like it had to be a boring ass fight, or else he's gonna walk into a straight left hand. And for all intents and purposes, Jack should have been undisputed. He beat Josh Taylor. You know what I mean? Before Teofimo Lopez, they just didn't give him that fight or the decision, and he dropped Josh Taylor. It was after Josh Taylor, went on a world tour, lost to Teo, came back to fight Jack. But by then, Jack wasn't even a champion. Like Speed called it. Oh, now he's got a baby belt. But if we really put it down the line, this is what this dude had accomplished. So like I'm not trying to you shouldn't try to diminish Arnold his victory over Jack, bro, because Josh couldn't do it. And Josh in both 24 rounds, he looked horrible. He tried to be the bully and he was always running into that left hand over the top. Boom. And it just wasn't
Right.
working for him. With Arnold, took all that away. He's like, nah, let me. And honestly, that fight was not close. It was 9 rounds, probably 10 rounds to 2 against, Arnold. Like he won that thing, bro. They're gonna make it closer than it seems, like split decision. But if you really look at, slicing and
and
dicing, it really wasn't no shot, man.
he was in his backyard as well.
Yep,
So
that's exactly. Yep.
so
Everything
he
was
could
about it was impressive. I didn't know Arnold had it in like that, bro. Like I thought, I'm rooting for this dude, but I don't know if you built like that.
I
Because
would
even he fought that tall Ireland Southpaw dude, and that dude
Mhm.
beat Arnold. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and it makes you think like how would he do against like a Elan Paro, you know? Because that's like 140 right there as well. But it's hard to tell who's good at 140 right now because I think 140 is just like you can be built completely different than your opponent.
Yeah.
140 is a lot of weight, and that can be distributed in so many ways, bro. So it's like it's good. It's more like Styles be makes the fight. Sabrina Matias somewhere out there has an opponent for him that's tailor made for him, that's undefeated. So that's why that
Well,
style.
but see, Drew, that's the beauty about 140, bro. 140 is the new 154 division when 154 had Bo Charlos, Jarrett Hurd, Erislandy Lara, Canelo, Liam Smith, all of those dudes. You don't know, bro. It's a round robin. Tony Harrison, all of these dudes beat one another. Like, for example, Sandor Martin just beat Puello. Now, they robbed Sandor Martin, but Puello just beat Gary Russell. Gary Russell, who just lost to Puello, and then who just beat, Rayo Valenzuela. And then all of these dudes, talk about Matias. He got beat by Liam Paro, who Liam Paro got outboxed by Richard Hitchens. So you ask yourself, bro, who really is the best at 140? Ryan beat the shit out of Devin.
I
And you're
know.
like, what the, like, dude, that's what makes this 140 division, like that whole TKO thing, right? That Turkey Al
Yep.
Sheik and
I was gonna
that
bring that up.
faggot ass Dana White is trying to do and stuff. Excuse my language, but I don't even know why I use that word. I apologize. Anyway, that whole tournament thing, it has to be 140, bro. See, the
Yeah.
heavyweight division is there's not a lot of spunk. All the big fights were already made. 175 is just Surdo versus Jao Patai, right? Big one better be the dust is settled. Have a trilogy, whatever's. Canelo's king at 168. 160, nobody cares about it. 154, we'll not talk about it. 147, just 2 names. 140 is where it's at. That's that division that deserves that exhibition TKO tournament, bro. Call me crazy, but that's just the way I see it, fam.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking when you were telling me all that. It's perfect for that tournament style bracket style, tournament at 140, bro. I think that'll bring like a lot of like attention to it because so many upsets will happen, bro. And you never know with 140. You just don't know who the man is right now. You're pretty much getting, some of the 135 pounders moving up, and you forgot about Amado Vargas. Was that his name? Armando? Or fuck, I forgot his name. But El General, that dude, you know, he moved up to 140. You know, so that's another player in the game that's like, you know, that can actually end up being the best at 140. You just never know. Um, so I feel like there's Lucas Body. There's
Cloud, Cloud, Cloud. Dream, homie. Remember Cloud uh from Kingdom's Hearts?
what are you talking about?
Homie knows his video games. Do you remember that video game, homie? Kingdom Hearts, and there was a character named Cloud with a huge sword.
Yeah, wait. Cloud is in that game, that Fusion Strike that you guys
No,
talking about?
no, 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 no,
Oh,
no,
I was
no.
about to say, fam. I was like,
No,
yeah,
no, but
don't do right here.
no, but Teofimo Lopez came out with that sword. Did you see him come out with that huge sword?
He came out with a keyblade. I did not see that, bro. That's tight.
Yeah, he
That
came out
is
with a
tight, bro.
huge keyblade, and
The
so
giant
okay,
Keyblade.
yeah, huge. Well, it was
It
Cloud's
was
sword.
giant.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
freaking
I've seen
tight,
it.
bro.
No,
Yeah, for
no,
those
I'm
that
telling you,
never
it's
played, if you guys have, I don't know, PlayStation 5 or whatever, there's a badass game, okay? Final Fantasy 7. Bro, it's so good. Just keep going. My bad, bro.
no, no, no. So okay, your dream is probably like, "Oh, why did you interrupt me?" Well, okay. What I'm trying to say is this, right? Okay, I'm just gonna, just in case, right? I'm just gonna repeat what happened, right? I'm just gonna describe to you what basically transpired, right? Teofimo Lopez slapped this guy after he walked in there with a big old sword. Teofimo Lopez walks in there with this big broad sword, which is called the Keyblade. It comes from a game called the Kingdom Hearts, and I think a lot of Disney characters came out in it. My brothers, the homie Ricky, and another one, they were like enamored with this game. Like I remember their childhood consisting of them playing this game, these games, right? And when I saw that, I was like, bro, if he's trying to be that dude, this guy is so cool. Like Teofimo Lopez is so easy to root for because he puts on very good fights. He's a character in his own right. The only thing, of course, that I disagree with is his racist takes and otherwise. But here's the thing: when Arnold Barbosa slapped him, right? I mean, when Arnold Barbosa slapped the cap out of his head, he slapped the thing. Homie Ricky, would you have done that? If a man walks up to you and he just slaps your baseball cap off your head, what are you gonna do?
Headbutt.
Headbutt.
Headbutt. I'm a bust this whole shit, bro. Like, like he's
Oh
done,
my
bro.
god.
I was gonna take an
Hell no, bro.
elbow.
Like headbutt.
Elbow,
I'm
you
not
would have
gonna
done an
get
elbow?
close to your face and stare at you soul to soul, touching your nose. Nah, boom, vato, just right in the fucking head, bro.
There you go. That's
Right in the
exactly what
nose.
I would have done. Right in the nose.
Right in the nose.
What would you have done, Dream? What would you have done?
I probably would have.
Elbowed
I probably, no, I
him?
probably
Muay
would have
Thai?
slapped. I would have slapped him with the 2-piece, bro. Like,
Boom, boom.
yeah, 2-piece with slaps though. You know,
Yeah.
just because I don't want to ruin the fight. Because the headbutt, you break their nose, bro. You could break their nose, and then it's like, fuck, man. It can be like, wanna? I don't even want to fight anymore. Like, let's reschedule this shit. Like, or you don't know. You just never know because you don't know if whatever commission that they're dealing with is gonna be like f that, you know.
Yeah, I
So
would have just hit him with the two. I wouldn't even have set it up with a one. I would have just gone two, just boom, right to the chin, right? Because
yeah,
again, you're not supposed to do that as adults. Now, if you guys saw that press conference, right? Again, going back to the old school, going back to stuff that us men were not supposed to do against each other without expecting ultimate violence. Sergio Mora, he was very critical of Teofimo Lopez for having done that, right? He was very critical of him, and he said that it was unbecoming of a fighter. Right now, again, when Sergio Morris says that this action by Teofimo Lopez is unbecoming of a fighter, he's thinking more along the lines of what is proper conduct for a gentleman, right? And but he forgets to. He must have felt so bad about Teofimo Lopez having slapped this guy that he forgot that first off, Barbosa knocked the cap off his head. That's the very first action that leads to the reaction. In this case, Teofimo Lopez, his reaction may have been more drastic, but it all started and was instigated by Arnold Barbosa. I think it was a fair action for Teofimo Lopez to have done to make sure he never gets that done again. Now, of course, in the realm of boxing, that action right there may have led to a fight being called off, a fine or whatnot. So maybe you can criticize him for maybe getting penalized and fined later on, because that's really what's going to happen. They're probably going to take a couple of $1,000 off of Teofimo Lopez's purse, just because he did that. They can actually call the fight off, and then everybody's going to be upset about it. But the fact of the matter is, in real life, you're not supposed to do that to another man, because it may sound petty, it may sound insignificant. Oh, I just slapped the baseball cap over your head. Why did you have to stab me in the stomach, right? But it's like, bro, the whole world was watching. You tried to call me a bitch in front of the world. You tried to tell me that I was baby brothered by another grown man. And you come over here thinking that you can just snap the cap off my head nonchalant in front of all these people, and I'm just going to sit here looking like a punk. Don't forget, I'm a fighter. This is what I live for. This is all that I know. So Sergio Mora, I think he's in the wrong. I know he's trying to think like a gentleman from the past about how we're not supposed to act like that, but he forgets it was a reaction, not an action. It was a reaction that Teofimo Lopez had, right? Now, the funny thing about it, here's another clown. Ryan Garcia was asked about it, and he said, I don't think you should do that about one man slapping to another one, right? And then, of course, here's the irony and the hypocrisy of it all. Todd Grisham, not just a Tory like Homie Ricky thought. Todd Grisham asked Ryan Garcia says, okay, what would you have done? And this is funny. Ryan Garcia says, I would have effing tried to kill him. Come on, bro. One guy's not the guy. This guy wants to kill him. See, what I'm trying to get at is this, guys. This is old school. I really like what's taking place here. These guys are thinking old school. If some grown ass man does this to me, I'm gonna take action, right? I know that Sergio Mora, he's thinking like he's acting like he's old school, but in fact, these younger guys get it. First off, don't do any of those things. But if someone does that to you, you have to retaliate, right? I just think this what's going on is too early, right? My only complaint is that it's happening too early. Like if they had done this the week or two before the main event, guys, this thing would have sold like crazy, because we have short memories as boxing fans. We're gonna forget this happened, right? But I don't know. I thought it was very, very exciting to watch these guys, do this to each other. Dream, I'm gonna pass a couple of. I'm gonna run some news by you today, just to get a reaction to see what the Mexican G says. Barbosa must get a stoppage to get respect back. What do you think about that, Dream? Do you think Barbosa has to get a stoppage to get his respect back? And do you think Barbosa can stop Teofimo Lopez? Does he have the power to do so?
Um, I mean, don't be surprised if he like knocks him down. Uh, but no, I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
So
that's
for
why.
like people to say like, oh, like he needs to knock him out. I think knocking him out um would obviously propel like his career, and it would make give him bigger paydays. Because the world's gonna look at him like, okay, like this guy does have power. But in reality, if that were to happen, we will still look at Teofimo as a 135 pounder, someone who
Hmm.
moved up. You knocked out someone who moved up, and that's what's gonna happen. So either way, that's not what's gonna happen. The knockout's not gonna happen. I'm saying that's what would happen if he knocked him out. But
Hmm.
um, I think um Teal's just gonna be too explosive for him. I think Arnold just needs to take care of business and just kind of go with the decision, and kind of just be himself, because that's who he is. He's gonna go the distance, and he's not that type of guy to get you out of there anyways. So I think that would actually put him in a lot of danger, going for the knockout, because Teal is just so explosive, and you never know when he's desperate, he could actually hurt you. Because Teal's smaller. I think one of the main reasons why it just never made sense to me, and how Teal was so powerful at 135, and then at 140 he kind of just stopped. Like to me, he looked explosive,
Yeah,
but
he hasn't knocked out anybody, huh?
yeah, and he looks explosive, but I'm like still questioning his power. I'm still Obviously I know he doesn't have power, and I knew dudes like Steve Claggett could have beat him. Um, but I just feel like Teal's just kind of seen different types of fighters at 140. Like he's seen almost seen it all. Um, but I just feel like with Arnold, he just needs to go the decision, not kind of do something that's out of the ordinary. If he gets it, he gets the decision, then that means he gets tougher fights. But either way, once you beat Teal, you're going to get tougher fights. You know,
The Mexican cheese says that he does have Barbosa for the win, and that's the thing, Dream. Like I think you had mentioned this. You hinted at this earlier on, right? This is a type of fight that seems to have motivated Teofimo Lopez. It seems like this is the type of fight that has finally gotten Teofimo Lopez out of bed, right? To train, to get a better camp, to get a new trainer, to see what else he can offer the sport. But in Barbosa, right, I see a very intelligent fighter that knows how to use his own physical abilities, right? Like like the homie Ricky intimated, Arnold Barbosa fought a very intelligent, slightly aggressive fight against Jack Catterall. That's exactly what he needed. He did not have to press the action so much, because the more he presses, the more mobile, the more movement Jack Catterall would have displayed. And of course, Jack Catterall is very athletic, very mobile. He has very good reflexes, and it's a good counterpuncher. In fact, that's probably all he is, a counterpuncher. If Arnold Barbosa had been more actively, forwardly aggressive, he would have been countered all night. But he was very patient in how he pursued Jack Catterall, right? So he never got countered. In fact, he was capitalizing off the fact that Jack Catterall was just waiting for the right moment to counter him, that he never actually found it. So eventually, what did he do? He trapped Jack Catterall to stand in the pocket and try to engage. And guess what? Arnold Barbosa surprised everybody because he had very good timing, very good reach, very good speed, and a very good hook. So I think that's exactly what Barbosa needs to do. Barbosa needs to be very patient in his pursuit against Teofimo Lopez. He cannot be too eager. He has to move forward cautiously and patiently, and he can get the points decision. Can he get a couple of knockdown? Maybe a check hook if Teofimo Lopez becomes a bit more daring and wants to walk this guy down. But he's never gonna be checked hooked on a drop, because guess what? Barbosa's not gonna be on the back foot. Barbosa's not going to be retreating like a Sandor Martin. He's not going to be doing any of that. He's going to stand his ground, maybe come forward, maybe take a step back, but he's not going to be circling around. He's not going to be running around, and he's definitely not going to be running after Teofimo Lopez. So he could win. I could see him winning.
Yeah, no, I can see Arnold winning by decision and actually outboxing Tio. Uh, I can see that happening, but it really depends if Tio is willing to stay in the pocket a lot more than usual. You know, uh, so that's why I'm like I can't see where dudes like Tio who's really explosive. Like if he can beat a Josh Taylor, then he can beat a who actually Josh Taylor has more of a higher knockout ratio at the time when he fought Tio. Like I really thought he was gonna knock out Tio, bro. But Tio's just too explosive. And Josh Taylor has IQ, but Arnold could very well out beat Tio to a decision, but Tio makes it hard, man. Tio makes it hard to make it look like he's getting outboxed. Smaller guys can make it look nicer, uh, just because they don't if they're moving up, that means they have a lot more muscle. That means they can stay more, stable, I guess. I think Tio just gets careless sometimes, but yeah, who knows? And also on the flip coin, I mean on the flip coin, but on the same token, uh Tio switched trainers. So that can be a bad thing. That can be some direction that he's probably not used to, and he's like, and it's not working for him, and maybe he just needs people that around him that are more familiar with him, you know. So yeah, it could work towards Arnold Barbosa. I do see that. I could see that happening, but Tio, man, I think with everything with his dad out of the corner, um, I hope he takes smarter direction in the fight, and that's why I'm not willing to bet against Tio. You know, like I'm not gonna bet against Tio ever again, bro. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna bet against him, and honestly, it kind of goes with the way I feel. I just feel like Tio's such a roller coaster. Um, and also, I was gonna say one thing before you go on. Uh, Rick said, uh, you know, who names their son Arnold, right? And my question is, how do you even say it in Spanish?
Arnoldo.
Arnoldo
Yeah. So Arnold is
with the
same
O at
thing
the
as
end?
Arnoldo. Yeah. In Spanish, it's Arnoldo.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah. So there is an Arnold, guys. In Spanish, Arnold is a common name. It's just with an O.
That's not
That's
common at all.
I actually knew an Arnoldo. I knew
Really?
an yeah, yeah. Growing up, Arnoldo. Let me see what other O's. Arnoldo, Refugio,
I know.
Renato,
I knew a Hernan.
Hernan.
Yeah.
Hernan. Yeah, that's Fernando, Armando, Arnoldo, Arnulfo. That one's a different variation of the same
Andulfo,
Arnulfo.
Nur.
Arnulfo. Arnulfo. Arnulfo.
I like
Yeah, I'm telling you,
Adolfo.
they are Mexican names, guys. They're not all named John. They're not all Juanito or Pedro or Paco or Jose. There's different names, guys. There's all kinds of names.
There's
So don't think
Ronaldinho.
Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho. Um, So yeah, he's probably just named. And here's the thing, guys: he's not Mexican. You know that. To be Mexican, you have to be born in Mexico, right? He's, if anything, he could be a Mexican American. And if he's a Mexican American, you have to consider how many generations has his family been in the United States. How detached are they from
Mhm.
Mexico proper, right? Because at the end of the day, they're not going to continue naming themselves Jose and Maria for the rest of their life. Jose Guadalupe, or, they're just going to change their names to Mikey or Adrian or Ricardo or common names like Elias or Herman or whatever. They're just gonna change. They're gonna call themselves whatever, right? Because they're not always just gonna keep it Mexican, guys. In fact, Mexican, those are very Spanish names. Tizoc, Cuauhtemoc, those those are more Mexican, Aztec, Purepecha names, right? So yeah, there's nothing wrong about a person being named Arnold if they consider themselves Mexican American. But Dream, I wanted to run a story by you, right? Now, the other day in one of the shows that I listened to this individual named Ring IQ. He's a very astute individual, very very smart. I I listen to him a lot. I get a lot of news from him. Not so much now because I don't have time for listening to a lot of boxing related stuff. But he was talking about how Bakram Murtasaliev, the guy who knocked out and utterly destroyed Tim Sue, nobody wants to fight him. Right? He's one of those high risk, low reward kind of fighters that holds a belt. So whoever is in that sanctioning body that that he holds a belt in, they're in trouble because they're eventually gonna be knocked on their door and be like, "Hey, are you ready to fight for the belt?" And they're gonna be like, against Murtasaliev, the guy who almost killed Tim
Right.
Sue, right?"
And this,
And
yeah, go ahead.
it, well, so they asked Virgil Ortiz promoter Oscar de la Hoya if he was interested in fighting Murtasaliev, and you know what Oscar said?
Hmm.
What do you think he said?
I don't know.
He said, "Not right now."
To
He said,
who?
to
To fight
uh
who?
to the IBF. He said, "Not right now." So, as reported here on Boxing Sin, written by Lance Pugmire, right, and published today on the 10th of March, 2025, the year of our Lord. He says, refuting the suggestion that an offer to fight IBF junior middleweight title holder Bakr Murtasaliev has been extended to unbeaten contender Virgil Ortiz Jr., Oscar de la Hoya said he's not tempted to make the fight now. Anyways, end quote. Never sent it to me. I haven't signed anything, De La Hoya told Lance Pugmire on Monday, shortly before a press conference, which was the one that we were discussing today. Murtasaliev's promoter Kati Duva of Main Event said on Monday that an offer was sent from Saudi Arabia's Turkish Sheikh for Murtasaliev, 23-0, 17 knockouts, to fight Ortiz on June 28 on Alcatraz Island off the coast of San Francisco. So again, uh, Turkish Sheikh may not have been able to secure, this former prison and the ocean outside of in the Pacific Ocean outside of the city of San Francisco for Teofimo Lopez, but he still has a plan for June the 28th. And Kathy Duva, she reached out to Saudi Arabia's Turki Ali Sheikh and said, "Hey, why don't you allow my fighter Murtasaliev to fight Virgil Ortiz in Alcatraz?" And of course, it's not up to Turkey. Turkey's just a money guy. And Ms. Duva says, "This morning we were told that your team turned down the fight," talking to Oscar, right? And this is what Oscar said: "I don't like that fight." He says, "Not coming off of Bohachuk, not coming off of Madrimov," De La Hoya said. "In boxing, There are rules. If you want to take care of a fighter and not have him burn out, you don't put him up against a beast, another beast. You burn out the fighters, and I don't like to fight. What do you think about that, Dream? Is Oscar de la Hoya ducking the smoke from Virgil Ortiz, or is Virgil Ortiz deserving of a softer touch?
No, I mean, I think I think Virgil is only getting older now.
Mhm.
I mean, he's not old, but you gotta take advantage of it, man. Like you gotta strike when the iron's hot, man. And 154 is just you just can't like it's so wide open that you can't there is you can't be uh you just got to be careful on that on the tune on those tune up fights um because it's just like 140, man. It's like styles mixed fight, and he's gonna get that dude that's his like his perfect style, and that is actually willing to slug it out with him. And it's either gonna be Tim Zoo or what's his name? Morizaliev. Um so those guys right there are really like a threat to him, bro. So I don't know, man. I just feel like yeah, I do see where he's coming from, but the it sounds like a lot of duck talk, from Oscar, and he's actually being protective of his fight, you know. But yeah, Rick is right. He should be fighting Fundora. Don't know what's happening with that. That's a perfect fight for Virgil. Um, I think that's somebody who's been knocked out before. Virgil got to knock him out, not in the same fashion, but you got to get the knockout on that, on his resume at least. And
Well, Fedora has a fight versus Cordell.
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's upcoming too, so it's like he can't have Sebastian Fedora as his next opponent, but Sebastian Fedora already has a fight, booked.
Is
I
it
think it's
finalized?
against Booker Cordell, huh?
Is
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
finalized?
There is. Yeah, let's. I think it's. It says right here actually. New foe for March 22nd, actually, in Las
Mm,
Vegas.
mm.
Uh,
Yeah, bro. With the
Sebastian
way,
Fedora will be fighting Cordell Booker.
yeah. No, I was gonna say with the way Virgil is fighting, he fought one of the best 154 pounders out there. Why are
Yeah.
you moving? Why are you moving like you are scared of everyone? You should you if you want to be the man, you gotta walk like the man in the division. You have another guy in there, and maybe he doesn't want to look too good. You know, you,
But
you
didn't
know,
we just learn something from Tim Sue?
yeah, that you can't. These tune-up guys, maybe Murazaliev isn't really that good. Maybe there's a bunch of these guys.
Oh, what?
Like
Do
maybe
you
there's
guys wait,
actually
wait, 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 wait? Do you guys
no.
think
I'm saying maybe. I
that
don't think
Bakram
no,
Murtasaliev is not that good, guys? I'm
no,
asking the listeners. I want to
no.
know what they think.
No, I'm saying there's a bunch of those types of fighters, bro. Like 154 is so wide open. You
Mhm.
like not anybody, but I feel like there's a lot of guys who would be more than happy to gain 7 extra pounds from 147 to 154, and actually still punch like that. And it's wide open, man. So you just got to be careful with those cherry picks, man. 154, that's a lot of weight and that's a lot of power, and and with Virgil, he's gonna
I don't
watch.
like it.
I just don't like the move. Go walk like the
I
man.
love the move.
What to tune up?
Yeah.
No,
It's not
I
even
mean,
see, that's the thing, though.
but
It's
it's time
because
for
you're
big fight.
describing it as a tune-up, right? And when we think of a tune-up, right? The word tune-up has
I
a
think of undercard.
derogatory connotation.
I think of undercard. I think of the pre like not prelims, but I think of you know, the undercard of a main event, and you should be walking. You should be getting into main event fights. Start building your name for that Crawford fight. You
Yeah.
know?
So, well, no, Virgil Ortiz is never going to fight Crawford, because Crawford, by the time that he's done with Canelo, is going to be at 168, and I believe he's going to do well against Canelo to actually remain somewhere closer to 160. Right? I don't think he's going to stay at 168. In fact, I think right after Canelo he might retire, but he's never going to fight Terence Crawford. The reason why I like another fight besides Bakram Murtasaliev for Virgil Ortiz is because when we think about a tune-up fight, tune-up has a derogatory term. Tune-up means that there's things that need to be worked on, and
Yeah.
you think about things that need to be worked on when a fighter doesn't look too good. I think he looked pretty good against one of the better 154 fighters in Israel Madrimov. Right? How do we know Israel Madrimov is good? Because he made Terence Bud Crawford look like a regular fighter. He did not make Terence Bud Crawford look like the killer that was two times undisputed. He didn't make Terence Bud Crawford look good at all. Right? So, so he almost knocked this guy out. I think it was the ninth round. Right? If it wasn't for a few more seconds, he would have knocked him down. Right? So Virgil Ortiz has had a couple of very good fights back to back. And now that he is a belt holder, maybe it's a minor belt or otherwise, but now that he is a belt holder, he should maximize that belt that he has to make some money and get his name recognition. How do you do that? By fighting a voluntary instead of a mandatory, right? You don't just immediately go and unify. You could do it if the price is right. If I mean, if the price is right, the pay is there, and you think you can win, go for it.
Yeah,
But
but
we already learned
I'm not even
with
saying
Tim Su, if you think you're the man and you walk with your chest all held up high out there, you can make a mistake. And instead, like I think you just agreed with me, a tune-up fight means you have something to work on. I'm sure that Virgil Ortiz has a few things to work on before taking on a guy that can probably destroy your career, because that's what we talked about with Tim Su. Tim Su may be a fighter that his career's ruined. We are talking about him coming back 2 years from now. How do you get a fighter to become a ruined shot fighter? We'll put him up in too many tough fights without proper preparation, without name recognition, on the cheap, and there you go. It's a quick formula to destroy a career. And I think Virgil Ortiz can take on two very good champions in Bohachuk and Madrimov. Take a soft touch, if that's what you want to call it, soft touch or a tune up. But I say it's better to call him voluntary, get some money, get his name out, and then come and fight this guy. His laptop died, he said. I'll be right there. So, again, look, guys, the reason why I think like this, and I'm not trying to justify the ducking, because that's not what I think is going on here. The reason why I propose that Virgil Ortiz and especially Oscar De La Hoya is right in taking on a softer touch than say Bakram or Tasaliev is because if you navigate a fighter like they did in the back in the day, like Mike Tyson, like Muhammad Ali, like Oscar De La Hoya, like Floyd Money Mayweather, like Jack Johnson, like all of these fighters did back in the day. They weren't fighting killer after killer after killer after killer. No, the reason they had careers that had 50, 60 fights is because they fought for the championship. They fought against the mandatory, and then they took on a voluntary. Then they fought a mandatory, then they took on the voluntary. And if the opportunity came out, then they would unify against another belt holder from another sanctioning body, right? That's how you had careers that lasted 50, 60 fights. That's the reason why they became famous, because they fought against the best one day, then they fought against a guy who climbed himself to the ranks to be number one as a mandatory or number 10 as a voluntary. Then they could knock out the voluntary, show the world why they're superior to everybody. Then they could come back to fight another guy that did the same thing, right? Because the more fights you have, the more people recognize you. The more people recognize you, the more people tune in. It's a way to develop a fan base. It's also a way to respect the sanctioning order. It's a way for the fighter to make some money. And at the end of the day, you can still get your unification or your undisputed fights, because it's not like you're ducking them. You're just taking a while before you get there. Now, I'm not trying to justify over marination, because we know that's a thing. We know that in the case of Terrence Bud Crawford fighting Errol Spence Jr. and most famously Manny Madrigan Pacquiao versus Floyd Joy Mayweather Jr., we know that those fights were overly marinated, right? I'm not proposing that, but I have no problem with the mandatory, voluntary, mandatory, voluntary. It's just proper. That's why the sanctioning bodies allow for voluntaries. It's for name recognition, some money making, and some preparation for the bigger fights. The homie Ricky says, then fight for unification. As always, Oscar de la Hoya is right, and he shows his intelligence and not burning out a fighter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's what Kathy Duva wants. Kathy Duva wants Israel. Virgil Ortiz to fight Bakram Murtasaliev. And Oscar's like, no, we don't have to. In fact, we don't have to. Not right now. In fact, I think they're in different sanctioning bodies. They don't even have to if they don't want to. No, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that that he should. If he wants to prove himself the best, and we know that Virgil Ortiz does want to be the best in the world, he will eventually have to fight that guy. But I don't have no problem after a very close fight against against um, against Israel. Matrimov, I don't have no problem if he wants to take on a voluntary.
You hear me?
Bro, Homie Ricky, yeah. Homie Ricky says Virgil should fight Tim Sue or Errol Spence in Texas. I think maybe Errol Spence is a better fight than Tim Sue. I think Tim Sue has to develop after those destructive fights against Sebastian Fedora, and then right after that, a very devastating loss to Bakram Murtasaliev. So I don't want to see him until he's had at least two tune-up fights. If he looks good, and if he looks good, because I want to see the best fight the best at their best, not the best fight names we recognize. Dream says former champs or someone that has been there with champs. Yeah, yeah, like a B or C class fighter. I have no problem with Virgil taking on somebody like that.
Yeah,
Move
that's what
like
I'm saying.
Tio. Move like Tio. Yeah, but okay. So Dream. Okay, so see, that's you. So Dream. Here's the thing about Teofimo Lopez, right? Teofimo Lopez, he fought Steve Claggett and he fought Sander Martin, and he looked bad in both of those fights, right? So that's the problem with my proposition. When you fight a voluntary, those voluntaries can actually, you know, uh, ruin your chances for championship, right? Like Steve Claggett, let's be realistic. A lot of people had Steve Claggett having beaten Teofimo Lopez. I don't know about you, but did you think Steve Claggett had a lot of success against Teofimo Lopez, or do you think Teofimo Lopez was just a superior fighter?
Um, hmm, it's a good question. I think I have to think back to the fight. To remember what I was saying. Um, I think it
I think
was
it was a draw.
no, it was they gave it to Tio.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
they
they
gave it to
did.
Tio, but
No, but I had it a
uh,
draw.
I do, yeah, I do remember it saying. I remember myself saying that Claggett needed to do more. He needed to do more. He wasn't doing enough. And he wasn't getting his ass whooped, or he wasn't like he was being the pressure fighter, but he was always just getting tagged coming in. Like he is more than the one dimensional fighter. He is missing half of like a quarter of a dimension. Like he's like he forgets part of the game plan, I guess.
Hmm.
Um so yeah, he's like not, I'm not saying he's worse than Pitbull, but Pitbull at least always ends it with some type of hook. Like he is so relentless. Um, Claggett is relentless, but he is also not as tight as far as his defense and his elbows. They're not as tucked in like a pit bull. Pit bull has a good um has like he always brings his hands back to his hands, elbows tucked in tight. Claggett's kind of loose with all that, you know. Um, but he is a little bigger. He's more of a full fledged 140 pounder, and probably hitting just as hard as a pit bull. But yeah, Tio took advantage of that, So how did I get to this point?
Well, that's boxing, bro. I don't know. That's boxing, bro. Right? Like we were talking about how you said they should move virtual Ortiz like Teofimo Lopez has moved, which is he fights a voluntary and then mandatory, voluntary, mandatory, and so forth and so on. But in that Steve Claggett, a lot of people actually had Steve Claggett having won because he was the come
Oh
forward
yeah.
aggressor. He threw more punches. He went to the body. He had very good punch selection. Maybe
Mhm.
Teofimo Lopez was just countering him a little too clean for the majority of other people's taste, but he was the come
Yeah,
forward aggressor. And here's the thing,
it was
those
Dwayne.
kind of fights can spoil your career because they're voluntaries, they usually don't pay the most, and because they're fighters that you're choosing instead of the people, the fan base choosing. What happens is those fighters may not be as appreciated by the fan base, so they don't want to pay much to watch them. So if you lose, it's just a lose-lose situation because you're not going to get paid good, and you're going to get upset by a guy that nobody ever gave a chance to, what they call a no-hoper, right? So I like voluntaries though, because you get to choose who you fight, you get to make some money, and if you're dumb or you were not prepared, you took these guys for a soft touch instead of a tune-up, which really that's the way that you should think about it. Then what's going to happen is they're going to beat you like Rafael Divino Espinosa did to Robesi Ramirez, and they're gonna create those incredible underdog stories that we love.
Yeah, and plus it's healthy for the sport. Like the upsets, they're healthy for the sport. And I mean, that's one of the reasons I kind of look at the TKO league and all that. My only worry was the fact that they probably couldn't bring enough fighters there. Or they couldn't get these fighters to fight. But if they were to fight each other, you will find a lot of upsets. Um, so yeah, upsets are healthy for the sport. That's what the sport needs. Um, it wouldn't be as great as it is today if it wasn't for upsets. That's pretty much like Tetris, bro. It fucking shakes everything down. And boom, you get a new set of rankings, and you get a new player in the division that gives you more options for matchups, because it sucks when divisions are running out of stars, and they're like, I don't even know, like I don't even know who's good enough to even fight for this belt, and I'm pretty sure that's happened before. The organizations just don't have a title holder for it, because no one's, I think it happens a lot more with the women's boxing, but with the or even like with the men's with the lighter weights. But yeah, usually like that's what happens. Like these organizations, they're not like necessarily trying to make money, but they're just trying to be feasible and trying to do the right thing for the sport. And sometimes it could mean making bad fights. So they need to find a balance with making good fights and being okay with the upset. You know, um, because they try to rob, the hometown guy or the golden goose a lot. Um, so what happened with Bivol and Canelo was huge, bro. Like that right there. We stopped talking about Canelo um Canelo ducking Benavides. Did you notice that? Like that talk has kind of simmered down since he lost to Bivol. Now
Yeah.
it's like now, like that's what Bivol did. Like now, can you beat this? There's a new conversation. Can you beat this guy? You know, can you beat the guy that beat him in Better Be the first time? You know,
Hmm.
um, so it creates new headlines, new conversations instead of just the old same old story. Canelo went and gets another knockout. Who's next? You know, and yeah, so it's healthy for the sport. So
I
yeah,
agree. I agree. So, Dream, just to remind you, this is the week that we have. This week, in fact, let me just remind you guys what incredible fights they're gonna come
I'm
up
more hyped
just
up
this week.
about Keith
Keith Thurman, which is on Thursday. I mean, on
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah. Well, okay. So Keith Thurman is going to be fighting an Aussie by the name of Brock Jarvis, who famously got knocked out by Liam Paro in 2 rounds. Right. Um, we
I
don't
want
know. I have not seen Brock Jarvis fight ever since he got knocked out. I remember I haven't seen 2 fights of him coming up before he fought Liam Paro, maybe one fight. But that's going to take place in Australia this Wednesday. In fact, Dream, if you want to see that fight, you better check what time the fight's going to start because if I'm not mistaken, I think Australia is 14 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, it's gonna happen at 1 a.m. So
Oh, okay.
on Wednesday. So it's
Okay.
yeah. So
That's
gotta
not bad.
get some naps in tomorrow. And
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to go to sleep back at 7 o'clock, man.
yeah, yeah, I'll probably just end up peeking at it, but it's really about Keith, bro, just coming back and getting a highlight reel in, because we miss some Keith, bro. It's been a minute, and honestly, if he sucks, then I don't want him back. Like if he sucks, then just hang him up. It's all right. I'll
Well, bro,
remember
he
you.
hasn't fought for like 4 years.
Yeah,
Why would
exactly.
you?
So,
Why would you expect him to look good?
well, because he looks in shape right now, and his age, and and anything close to what he used to be. I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
like he needs to show me that why they call him one time, and it's sometimes, man, power just doesn't leave you,
Yeah.
and with Keith, I feel like he still got that one, and I want to see it land, you know. Um, it's one thing if if he actually gets winded and looks like garbage. It's like, man, have you even been training for this fight? But
Yeah.
I don't see him gaining weight like that. I don't see him getting fat. I don't. He looks exactly the same as he did 4 years ago. You know?
I've seen him a little heavy. I've seen
Yeah.
him a little heavy. Well, not recently, because he's been out of the news for a while. But yeah,
But
I've
I've
seen
seen
him
him.
a little heavy before.
If anything, it just he's lost a little bit of that muscle frame that he
Mm,
has, and his abs are kind of gone a little bit. But I mean, eh, like it's just one muscle like power is the last thing to leave. You know, you got like you'll be an old man with a lot of power. you know, and every time I think of that phrase, I think of an old, strong, not old, but like a strong 60 or 50-year-old, someone like your dad, bro. Your dad's
yeah.
strong as shit, dude. Your dad.
He's hella strong.
I had dreams about this man cranking up his own car while he working on the bottom of it. It's like,
Bro, my dad cut a car in 4 parts with an axe, of which the axe head was flying off.
are you
And
serious?
yeah, one of my Impalas. And here's the thing, though, he cut it with such surgical precision. Like it's because they wouldn't allow us to take a generator with the so that we could connect it to a to a saw or any power tool so that we can cut off that panel. So he took an axe and he started to cut off the car into a part. Right, he started cutting off the whole like a quarter of the car, man. Within the whole, everybody started like circling around to watch this guy, and it was dangerous for them too because he would whack, and then he taken like he cut into this car, right, and the whole axe head would go down, and then when he would pull it off, the axe head would fly. And people were like around there. He like it could have killed anybody, bro. But then after he figured, okay, so when I put it, let me take it off. It was one of the most incredible sights that I've ever seen. Right then and there, I knew my dad was a complete badass, man. But yeah, no, I agree with you. My father is a very strong guy, but
I
I don't know
think I
about having no dreams about him. But yeah, I wouldn't,
no no
question if
no
he did.
no. One time I because you know we live around the corner from each other, so I see him outside a lot, and
Hmm.
like I just had a dream one time that he lifted up his own car, and and because I always wondered how you guys put bricks underneath the car. I guess that's why I had a dream about it. I'm like, how did he? And I kind of slept on it one night, and I was like, and I had a dream that he left it up. He was just putting bricks underneath his car to like leave it lifted
Well,
up.
I think that happened though. So I don't know if
Really?
the yeah, I
See, I knew
think
it was true story. I always wondered. I'm like, did I already ask him about that?
I
No,
think
but
a car fell on my dad.
what?
Uh, yeah, he was under a car, and I
No, I'm
think it
not talking
fell.
about that.
No, 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 but I think it fell under him, and he was stuck there for like 30 or 40 minutes calling for help,
Oh my god.
and then I think maybe I'm imagining this, but I think he had to like sort of like maneuver himself out of there. Like man, I have to ask before because I have a very bad memory, bro. But yeah, my father is a miracle worker. Like well, you know how everybody says something like, oh, my dad's the hardest working man I know. He's the most. No, I'm telling
Mm.
you, my dad is the hardest
No,
working man. I can put my dad against anybody's dad, and he'll beat you guys. Anybody's dad. I don't care what.
strong.
I'll put
No,
money.
I'm
I'm
saying
not a betting man, but I will
I'm
put that.
saying Butte strong. Like I think he can bench 2 plates.
Bro, have you seen my dad's forearms?
He could bench 2 plates. Exactly. I know. That's why. I think he could bench two
My
plates.
dad's forearms.
No.
Have you seen his back?
Have you seen his calves? His calves are
Yeah,
huge.
yeah, yeah. No, he's like
No,
he
watch
is.
this. He goes to the gym right there in shape. So
Well, he only went for a couple of months. It's not that. It's just that my
oh,
my uncles are built like that too because
your uncles are
my
built
god
like that?
yeah, because my grandfather, he started making them work since like 7 years of age. By the time that they were 14 years of age, they were already participating in the Bracero program, coming over here, crossing the border to work for the U.S. of A. and toiling in the fields. And in my grandfather, he would beat them. Like he would beat them with belts, with whips. My dad has scars. Like you can't talk to my father and my uncles about that because then they will probably break down and cry. Because my those are old Mexicans, right? That's how they they would race him. You couldn't say nothing. You couldn't say but dad. Nope, you couldn't say nothing. They would slap you. They would beat you. Um, you know, I think I once saw my dad shed tears remembering how my grandfather raised him. But anyways, so going back, he he cut off a car, right? So yeah, maybe Keith Thurman. Hopefully, Keith Thurman does have that kind of grown man strength to overcome the odds. But here's the thing, guys: if you guys want to see that fight, it's a pay-per-view event, right? You have to subscribe to KO KAYO Sports to pay-per-view, or you can just stream it live, right? But I mean, I think it's better to support these guys if you really want to see Keith Durbin come back to the sport. especially if he looks good, you may want to support that pay-per-view event. But here's a couple of other fights that are gonna take place, Dream. Like, man, just the next day, bro, you're again gonna have to go to sleep very early because Kenshiro Teraji is gonna be fighting Akui. And Jonathan Olaskawa, who has only
Oh,
lost to Kenshiro, he's gonna be fighting Kyoguchi. And you know what's gonna happen if both of
he's
these
gonna
guys
fight
win.
Yamasaki Mitsubishi.
Yeah,
No,
Kyoguchi. Okay, come on. He's gonna fight Kyoguchi and Jonathan Olaskawa. Remember? Do you remember who
dude,
Jonathan
you're good with
Olaskawa
these
is?
names, man. You're good with these names. Nah, dude, I'm horrible with Japanese names. I don't fucking. I'm bad, dude. Tension. I remember. I know who Tension is, just
Yeah.
because I know how to get attention. You know, like, but like
Oh,
they're
come
hard to.
on.
It's the in my head though. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
honestly like hard to depict I've been trying honestly with since Inoue came in the scene, and I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, like I obviously Junto's such a unique name, and it's easy to say. Even his last name sounds like some Nigerian black, like Nigerian last name. Yeah, no, there's what's his name? He has what's his name's last Junto Nakatani. There's this other dude. His name's
That's a badass name, by the way.
yeah, Nakatani. I
Yeah.
forget. He's a Nigerian. This Nigerian dude that fought Tio. He's
Yeah.
like Nigerian, and his
Yeah.
last name
Yeah.
is Nakatani. Nakatilia, never mind. But
Nakatila, but very similar.
yeah,
Nakatila.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
So
yeah, it's
so let
hard,
me
bro. It's
remind
hard.
you. Let me
You're good.
remind
You're
you.
good.
Yeah, no, they're very good. So let me remind you who Anthony Olaskawa was, right? So Anthony Olaskawa, he was literally, guys, a 2 day replacement, a 2 day late replacement for a Kenshiro Teraji fight. Kenshiro Teraji was a recent belt holder, right? I think they're they're these guys are little guys, right? So Tenshiro Keraji, he had beaten, if I'm not mistaken, Hiroto Kyoguchi for the belt. 16 and 0 fighter, right? So he fought an undefeated champion. Kenshiro Teraji did, and all of a sudden he had to have this. And here's the thing about Japanese fighters: they really don't take on voluntaries. They're almost always mandatories, right? So he had to fight his mandatory, but the mandatory, for whatever reason or another, that fight fell through. So they got this fighter from Los Angeles, a Mexican American fighter named Anthony Olascagua, to take on the champion in 2 days' notice. Now, man, if you guys have never seen Alaskawa versus Teraji, you guys should watch that fight. It's a very good fight. The Mexican American was bringing it to the champion, and then the champion started just it was just a back and forth, and he hurt the champion so many times, as equally as he was. But then all of a sudden, one very good punch from Teraji landed when the Mexican American was in the corners. He threw a couple more. He dropped to the ground. It was the only knockdown of the fight, and they didn't even allow him to get himself up because what happened was he fell through the ropes. Now, it's easy for these short guys to fall through the ropes because all they have to do is bend down, and then they're almost outside of the ropes anyways because they're very short, right? These guys only weigh like 110 pounds, 112 pounds. So this guy shows up, the other guy starts teeing off of him, and when he drops sitting down, but the top of his head goes below the second rope. So the third man in the ring, he waves it off. And I'm like, man, that was a premature stoppage. Like, they should have allowed him to get himself up. He wasn't seriously hurt. The guy did throw some combos, maybe 4 punches, 2 landed, but nonetheless, they called it off. Now, this Thursday, Dream, this Thursday on ESPN, right in the same day, right, that you're gonna watch this fight, all you have to do is just, wait until the nighttime. Kenshiro Teraji, he's gonna be fighting Seigo Yuri Akui. Seigo Yuri Akui is a 21 win, 2 loss, 1 draw fighter. He is a mandatory, if I'm not mistaken. And now, now Olaskawa, right? He is also gonna be fighting, right? He's gonna be fighting for his own shot to get revenge against Terachi. Because if Olaskawa wins, he's there. The promised fight is gonna be Teraji versus Olaskawa for the rematch again for the belt. And I assure you, the Mexican American is a whole different fighter. This guy's gonna be fresh. This guy has like 5 knockouts already in a row. This guy is a better fighter. He learned from the first fight, and you can see the development in his fights after that last minute replacement loss of his. I think if they both win, Dream, the world of boxing is going to be so fortunate to see a rematch that is 3 or so years in the making, but still, nonetheless, it is one of those rematches like the kind that I want, where you lose, you drop in the ranks, one guy moves forward, and then the guy that loses keeps winning and winning until he gets the shot again. Not one of these rematch clause type of fights like we're seeing in Better Be versus Peterviev. This is a natural rematch in the making, and man, oh man, I can't wait for that fight to take place. Now, here's another one. Check this out. Nick Ball versus TJ Doheny. Check that out. That's on Saturday. Here's your fighter, Dream. Omari Jones is going to be fighting
That's not
a.
my fighter, bro. That's
No, he's not your fighter. Omari Jones is not
nah,
your
bro.
fighter.
Nah, dude. I told you, bro. That's somebody that it's name exactly his name, bro. But it's Omari. The dude from Oakland is Amari with an A.
No way.
Yeah, and this guy's actually a silver medalist. I told you
So
before.
Omari and Amari are different?
Yeah, dude. Like Omari Jones is actually a gold medalist. You know,
Omari.
yeah, and then Amari Jones, Devin Haney's guy, lost to Xander Zayas in the Olympic trials.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
That's weird, bro.
yeah, yeah,
Amari Jones. Wow, that's so true.
yeah.
Man, now it sounds like a closeted racist, bro. That thinks like all
Nah,
black people are the same.
no, because their names are exactly the same. But uh, I actually went out of my way and told you about this guy, and I even said it's not him. But
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Well, check it out. Just in case you guys didn't know, because obviously this is I don't know if you want to call it a soft touch. I call it a tune-up fight. But Amo Williams is going to be fighting Patrice Volny. Omari Jones is going to be fighting an Italian by the name of Alessio Mostranunzio. And Edgar Berlanga, not even headlining. Edward Berlanga is the co-main event to Amo versus Volny when he takes on Jonathan Gonzalez. Did you know that Edward Berlanga's coming back and he's going to be fighting this Saturday?
Berlanga,
Yeah,
the hell, who's he fighting?
some dude named Jonathan Gonzalez.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
Jonathan
telling
Cole?
you, like this is probably not so much a tune-up fight as much as it is a soft touch because they're not promoting this fight at all.
Yeah, dude. Uh, I've
That's
been
crazy.
on. Yeah, I've been on. Podcasts, and they're not mentioning it nowhere. So, are you sure?
I'm looking at it right here, man, clear as day. Yes, it says this. Look, Ammo versus Volny. The pro debut of Omari Jones, March the 15th. Here's
Wow.
the undercard, right? This is the card. Austin Williams, Patrice Volny. Edgar Berlanga versus Jonathan Gonzalez, and Omari Jones versus Alessio Mostranunzio.
Yeah. Well, it's
Edgar
pro.
Berlanga is fighting, bro.
It's Omari Jones's pro debut. So look out for this guy, Omari Jones, bro. Um, this guy was I've seen this guy like knock a couple dudes down, and this guy's pretty good, bro. Like this guy's actually like out of that whole Olympics, that Olympic team, Omari Jones and this kid named Harvey. Uh, I forget his first name, but those guys, his last name is Harvey. He's like a 140 pounder. He's pretty damn good. He's actually a silver medalist as well, like Omari Jones. But yeah, those guys. Look out for these guys. These guys are
Mhm.
new players in the game. So yeah, what you were saying something?
Yeah, so okay, people are being very critical. In fact, here's the thing: a boxing scene. It's actually titled "Team Edgar Berlanga Justifies Choice of Comeback Fighters." So they're actually having to explain why they're fighting some guy named Jonathan Gonzalez Ortiz,
20 and
right?
0,
20 no, but here's the thing: they
60
say
knockouts.
that they say it's a 35-year-old unknown Puerto Rican,
Wow.
right? So this is the third paragraph. The initial news of the fight announcement caught some fans by surprise. Berlanga, a Puerto Rican from New York City, had just gone 12 rounds with Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan in a world title fight and won the respect of many fight fans, even in a loss. That was in September. Now he is returning against an unknown 35-year-old Puerto Rican. Now, Dream, I
Okay.
think a lot of people agree, right? That even though Edgar Berlanga was competitive, he still lost convincingly to Canelo, right? I mean, Canelo easily won 8 rounds. He got a knockdown, and that means I'm being very generous of Berlanga that he won 4 rounds. But he got outclassed, he got dropped, and he maybe won 3 or 4 rounds, right? Would you agree to that?
Yeah, yeah, he won like very minimum rounds,
But
bro.
he was
Like,
competitive, but he lost, right?
yeah, he performed his best. Like
Yeah.
he
Okay.
did really like like it was his best performance uh like without getting a knockout, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So what do you do with a fighter loses? Do you all of a sudden put him against another fighter that might beat him, or do you give him an opportunity to get himself prepared to become a winner again?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing the skills that he possesses,
Hmm.
um because he got to be real with himself. Like, can I beat the Caleb Plants? Can I beat who's the dude that fought Caleb Plant recently?
Um,
Trevor. Trevor
Trevor
McCumbee.
McCumbee.
Yeah, can I beat those guys? Can I beat, not Morel, 168. Yeah, like any of the other guys, like I don't know, you know, because like I think he needs to anyone that actually loses to Canelo doesn't really deserve a lot of like backlash. It's when you
Hmm.
start to talk about it, like how open you are about it and how proud of yourself you are of it, like you shouldn't
Hmm.
be too proud of a loss, you know um and just I don't know, man, like you shouldn't be too proud of a loss, and you should still look at yourself as a working project. He look like he just I hope he doesn't stop learning, you know
Yeah.
um so that's the only thing. It's really just his attitude, really, like that kind of sets me off. It's like, dude, you just lost, man, lad. And and Puerto Ricans are gonna try to piss off other people, boxing fans, and say like, "This is our king," and then we threw a whole parade. When in reality, they do that for any athlete that comes out of
Oh,
Puerto Rico. Um, so they do that for anybody. Then they pay for it actually. So he
look at
pays.
the Mexican. The Mexican G reminds us, and he says Berlanga won no rounds officially, but he was tough. So see, what I'm trying to get at is this, Dream. This is the way I would manage a fighter. If my fighter took a loss, I'm gonna give him an easy touch, tune-up
This is the
fight.
right opponent. This is the right
Yeah,
opponent.
exactly. You need
Yeah.
to win your confidence back. You need to
This is
think
another
like a winner. So you
and
put him up against a fighter that you have the best odds of beating, so that you can get the winner's mentality back again. If that part does not make sense to any of our listeners, guys, then you're not thinking like an insider to the sport. Now maybe you're not like, okay, well, whatever, I'm not an insider, I just want to see the best fights. Well, again, guys, if you want to see the best fights, and you're trying to, and you have to think like a fighter, and you have to think like a manager, you have to understand this guy just lost convincingly, and apparently every single round, to one of the best fighters in the world. That leads you, or should lead you, to believe that this guy needs to develop more. So what do? First, you get him an easy victory, so that he can get back into the winner's circle, so that he can think mentally as a winner. Then you put him up against somebody tougher, maybe what you call a tune-up fight, somebody that will help you develop and prepare yourself for those things that led to your defeat in the first place. Then you can come back to a contention, right?
yeah.
But you don't put him up against another known killer just because he's coming off fighting one of the best fighters in the world when he lost every single round. You have to think, okay, he lost, let's get him back to winning. Not, he lost, I'm going to put him against another guy where he might lose again.
Yeah, and I think with Berlanga, he's just not disciplined enough. Like, how can you just give me your all against Canelo? That all right there, you beat a lot of people with that performance against
That
Canelo.
is true. That is
You
true.
know, but uh,
But we
you
still have to
still,
see it though.
but you, I think I think like if I was on, in his team and all that, like I would just be like, well, you know what, you're just build your profile, because there's this one
There you
thing,
go.
right?
Build your profile
He
is good too.
he he sells out at the Caribe Royale. Like he sells out, and he got to take advantage of that. That's his home crowd right there, and he brings them out, and
Yeah.
he makes them a lot of money. I heard. So,
Mm.
and
That's
really,
where's that in Florida or?
yeah, in Orlando. So
Oh, okay. Well, he
yeah,
could also sell out New York.
that's what I was gonna say too. He's gonna sell out New York, so it's like you don't necessarily need to you just need to be in good fights
Yeah.
once you get there though, like take advantage of the economy, around you, and and what you can provide to your local, community or whatever, and put on a show and take advantage of those checks. And then once you hit kind of like 30 years old, um or and I'm not, that's me being lenient because he's 27 right now. Um,
Mm.
so
Young
maybe,
fella.
yeah, maybe by the end of this year, you'll be in with somebody that actually is a former world champion or has been there in there with the world champion. You
Trevor
know,
McCumbee would be perfect.
yeah, that would be perfect. But it's like
Caleb Plant would be well.
but there's the thing though. Um, there's the thing. How you move,
Mm.
it's gonna directly reflect your confidence, because you hit the ceiling already with Canelo.
Mm.
Now you don't want to jump up again. Like you don't want
Well,
to.
well, well, we'll know if that's his mind state if he takes on another very easy fight after this. But I don't think so, because
Well, the currency
Mr. Eddie Hearn only has this guy signed for 3 fights.
the longevity in his career is
Mm.
solely dependent on how good
Activity.
of a fighter you are. Because
Oh.
how are you gonna be able to sell me? Like he's gonna lose to what if he loses to Trevor McCumbee? How are you
Well,
gonna
if he loses to Trevor McCumbee again, it might have to do with the fact that he thinks of himself as superior just having fought Canelo. What I'm trying to say
but it
is,
also
after you
depends on
lost to
how
Canelo, if you come and fight this known undefeated Puerto Rican and you knock him out or you look incredible, that's when you know that you should be able to take on a Trevor McCumbee or even a Caleb Plant and do the same thing over there to them.
yeah. But he's gotta go through that line of fire. I keep saying. He's
Yeah.
gonna have to go through that line of fire where um where they've seen you already in a different form. You know, they've seen your type of arsenal already. You know, you're gonna have to recreate yourself or learn how to adjust. You know, and Berlanga shows that he can adjust, but nothing really shows me that he's improved. You know, at an all-time high. Like only the greats improve, right? Like Crawford, he improved. No one sees how much he upped that jab. He definitely improved his whole game. You know, he fights way better than he did in his mid 20s, late 20s. He is fighting at an all time high, the best. Like it doesn't even compare to his younger self. Like he is more at his prime right now because of the amount of knowledge that he's been soaking in. Berlanga is showing me a steady treading line, just that's going straight. It's like and your ego is going up, you know. So your ego got to go like it got to match. It got to match your ego. And sometimes it's not even ego. You're spitting. It's gonna come out as facts. You're just gonna be talking facts, and you're not even gonna sound egotistical and say I've upped my like I'm gonna show some crazy IQ. And it didn't really you like that was straight like misleading right there. Like don't tell
Well,
me
I don't know because look,
what
I think he
what.
looked worse. I think Berlanga looked worse against other men than against Canelo.
No,
Like
that's
I
what I'm
think
saying. You're agreeing
he
with me.
looked worse
You're
against
agree-
Madrid, McCrory,
that's
and even Jason Quigley.
I know you're agreeing with me, but yeah, like we're saying the same thing. Like he's that's what when he said I'm gonna show some crazy IQ, that was for the Jason Quigley fight, I believe. You know, and it's like no, no, my bad, Pat Drake McCory.
He also said
You
that
know,
against Canelo though.
yeah, crazy IQ. It's
And
like
I,
that's
and thing in
that's
Canelo's case, he actually showed it, man. Like he survived. Like I'm telling you, he was very
but
competitive
then
against Canelo.
But then
Just
you seen an element in his opponent as far as Canelo's uh, effort. It's like there was a variable missing in this equation, and it was Canelo's effort, So it makes me question that now. And it's like I don't know, man. Like we still got to see. I think he's 27, and only the greats improve. You
mhm,
know, only the greats improve, and it takes. Imagine being, imagine being 26-6. It takes a special type of fighter to come back and say, "I'm gonna start learning how to stop that shit. I'm gonna start learning stop. Like I'm gonna have to, like it takes us like a very special type of person, bro. And it takes IQ, and Berlanga can do that. I see a world where he improves, but it's not like I peep game. I watch, how he trains and what he does in the pads, and who knows what he does behind the scenes. But um opponents like this aren't gonna isn't really necessarily gonna help us, say, hey, this guy's still like it's gonna tell us like if he doesn't get the knockout, then it's still gonna make me question him. But it's gonna be like, okay, this is what we expected if he gets the knockout, and it's perfect. He gets that paycheck. Um, but hopefully you knock him out in a fashion we've never seen before. Like damn, you set that up. Like this fight, you showed IQ. Like this one right here, like okay, like but I'll be 25% there. Every fight is like 25% for me, and you got to keep doing it up until I'm 100% with you. And I'm like, he's learning. He's not necessarily 25%, but it also depends on the shock value that you give me in this fight. But I'm not gonna get too much. I'm not gonna overhype or I'm not gonna hype nothing up about this fight. It's a good build up fight. He deserves um to sell out a crowd and put asses in seats. Um but me as an impatient fan, it's like he knows he is got his back up against the wall in a sense, you know. You got your back up against the wall, now you're looking at all these dogs in the junkyard and you're like, fuck. I gotta learn. There's no other way. There's no other way around it. You cannot cheat the boxing fans in this one. You've got to improve. You know. Um. So I'm giving them that. I'm giving them the fact that he's a dog, but you got to show me you're still teachable.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think there's gonna be so many opportunities this weekend, Dream, for all of these fighters to display to the world where they're at right now. I'm very, very excited for Olaskawa versus Terachi. If they should rematch, I want these guys to win on Thursday or Friday morning in order for me to watch that rematch, because the first one was very, very exciting. I want to see what Edward Berlanga looks like, even against an unknown fighter with that kind of a record, because those are sleepers. That's Rafael Divino Espinosa, as far as I'm concerned, a guy with a lot of fights under his belt, a lot of knockouts, undefeated, that nobody knows of. That's a slippery slope. That's a banana peel, to tell you the honest truth. But if he goes over there and looks excellent, then we know that he learned a lot under Canelo. We know that now he overcame the defeatist mentality, and now he's in the winner's circle again. Maybe that'll be the tune-up,
Maybe,
soft touch that'll get him some
look,
renown. I want to see it. I want to see where
can I
Edgar is in right now.
can I give you some precedents? There's a guy named by the name of Melnecki. What's his name? His first
Yeah,
name?
Vito Milnecki.
Vito Melnecki. His dad's the
Mm.
promoter.
Yeah.
Um, he is now fighting at 160. And he's really cool with Nestor Gibbs from the Boxing Voice.
Yeah.
And so I've
Well, they're from
seen,
Jersey.
yeah, oh yeah, that's right. They're from Jersey, so that's probably why. And I've seen a handful of interviews, bro. And then it's almost to the point where I kind of know how he moves because his dad's the promoter. But like maybe Vito is
Hmm.
just he moved up to 160, by the way,
Hmm.
and he did that intentionally. You moved up from a weight class that is filled with just names, and you moved on to a weight class that's no has no names. You know, maybe Berlanga's aging these guys out. You know, like maybe he's doing
At
that, and he's
168.
yeah, and maybe kind of like moving in a sense where he's gonna just sell out crowds and just kind of do what he does and what's his name? Vito, he keeps moving up because of he keeps saying that he just feels better at that weight, and I feel better at this weight. I moved up again. Now I feel better at that weight. And then he goes, well, he goes, there's not he goes, well, there's not a lot of names in this division, so it's a little easier for me to move up the rankings.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And I was
So
just
he's
like,
thinking as he wants
yes,
to the easy way. Well,
open.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
open
yeah.
about it.
Well,
So
yeah, that's honest,
so
right? I mean,
yeah. Yeah, no, and
getting
look
where
at
you can fit in.
yeah, I mean, and if you pay attention, I mean, some guys are better off moving up. Like Colin Smith, he was so tall, bro. He was bigger than the light heavyweight, so he moved up to light heavyweight, and I mean, he scraped the win against Buatsi, But if you can get these wins, then why not move up? But that's not Berlanga, but Berlanga, um, maybe he needs to age him out, But this is the thing, though.
Bro, that's gonna be long wait, bro.
That's
Because
the
I
thing.
mean,
I know. I'm thinking about it, but I'm thinking about it. You have a young cat in Jaime Munguia that's just as young as you. He's
yeah.
gonna age with you, so it's
Hmm.
probably not a good plan. Maybe you should wait till the junkyard dogs are full and leave the division. You know, but so that's another exiting route for Berlanga to become one of the goats of Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
Because they're
Well,
building
there's
him
a
up.
lot of young fighters, man. Christian and Billy, Vladimir Shishkin, William Scott, Diego Pacheco,
Mhm.
Osley Iglesias, Bruno Sarache, Jaime Munguia.
Iglesias. Do you know
Yeah,
him?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
Dude,
him. I
I've
know him.
never.
He's
I've
probably
seen.
the best Cuban fighter right now.
Really? What weight class?
He said super middleweight, 168.
Never seen him fight. Never seen
Oh
him fight.
no, bro. Okay, so he fights out of Canada, and
And he's
he's
Mexican.
not. No, no, no. He's Cuban. He's not your defensively minded Cuban fighter. He's the type of Cuban that he already knows that they work on strategy, they work on reach, they work on jab and technical punching, right? That they already know. He already knows he's got the advantage. So he's like, why do I have to fight? Why do I have to be on the back foot when I could just walk this guy down? He is very aggressive. In fact, I tell you one thing: if Osle Iglesias would fight William Skull, I think Osle Iglesias knocks out William Skull. I think the belt should somehow made it to the hands of Osle Iglesias. If we're gonna pick a fighter that nobody's ever heard of, that nobody's ever seen fight, that is from Cuba, if you want to give it to somebody that would probably defend and hold on to the belt much longer, it's not going to be William Skull. It's going to be Osle Iglesias, even though he's more inexperienced and younger. Osle Iglesias, man, he I think I made a video. Yeah, I uploaded a short video of Osti Iglesias, the Screaming Madman. He made a short video where this guy knocks out his opponent in the first round, the first 2 minutes. The guy starts to have a seizure, right? And Osley Iglesias starts dancing and
Oh,
doing
that
these
was him.
yeah, he starts having these Fortnite dances and everything, and not once did he care about his opponent. And then when he went to walk up to his opponent, it was like he went like, "Oh, do I have to?" Like if this corner told him like, "Bro, go over there and do the right thing," and he said, "Ah," and he walks over there all like hesitant, like he's like, "Man, I'm sorry." And like I had to do that to you. He is a very mean individual, bro. Osley Iglesias. These guys, Osley Iglesias, man, shh, I don't know. I'm just telling you. Like, if you're gonna age out anybody, it's not 168. There's so many young, fresh, powerful fighters at
And
168.
I think
You're
it's
not
just.
aging anybody.
And I think it's just the nature of it. I feel like less guys at 168, or more guys at 168, or even, yeah, 168. I feel like that's like the threshold of guys, just like you don't have a lot of guys replenishing or depleting themselves for weigh-ins a lot at at 168. I feel like you see a lot of hydrated guys at 168,
Mm,
because they're like 5'10", 5'11", sometimes, like the Mabilis,
yep.
um, and that's easy weighing right there. If anything, you just gotta stop pumping iron. I don't know how his training regimen is, because he's so much muscle, but dudes like that, man, it's just you have a lot of guys that aren't really like cutting weight like you think, and they
Mm,
probably are, but it's just like they're just fully hydrated at 168
mm,
so I feel like the smaller guys is just that's just the nature of it. Smaller guys are just killing themselves, man. Especially them lower 120 pounders, the 122 pounders. Those guys are killing themselves, because some of those guys are like 5'9", 5'8",
yep.
and
Yep.
they're just killing themselves. And most people are walking around 5'8", 5'9". There's guys 5'8", 5'9" that are like killing themselves to hit 122. Matter of fact, I remember Rick. Um, Rick's crazy, man. This guy about was hitting 122, and he is my height, and he was actually like, coach wanted him to move down to like 118. I'm like, dude, like this guy's
Yeah.
going to die. Like this guy
Yeah.
cannot do that, bro. Like, so I learned a lot through those times, and realized that hey man, you got to be 5'2" or 5'3" for those weight classes. You 5'8", 5'7", you can do 140, 135 maybe, if you're good enough. But usually it takes a different type of person to cut that much weight, So anyways, with the 168 pounders, bro. Yeah, like Berlanga is five. Oh, he looks big, man. He looks like a 6 footer in there, and he's a big dude, man. So um he's gonna have to improve, bro. All that dieting don't even matter. Like you gotta show me some new tools, like show me some new movement, you know. It's good that he's not like getting all buff and not getting all, jacked up and trying to get more power now. Like that's good, because I see his little training regimen and it's very boxing heavy boxing workouts, and I like it. I like his workouts. Like he does like tanks workouts kind of with the band, and he like I like tanks workouts. Um but yeah, dude, so he needs to improve, man. Like honestly, you're not gonna do nothing, man. Like I put that on everything, dude. Like you cannot sell me this. You cannot sell me this and tell me that I'm gonna be really mad. No, I'm not even gonna be mad. I'm gonna be a hater after that. Um, I just hope that it matches his greatness. Like the skills that he possesses matches
Mhm.
his greatness. You know.
Well, we're gonna see this Saturday, so you will be able to talk about it then. Dream,
And crash out.
man. Yeah, well, I have to
Yeah, I'm
work.
gonna crash out. Me too.
So it was definitely fun. We got to do this again. I'm sure that with these press conferences, the way that they've been going, how how nerve wracking, how chaotic they've been. I'm sure that we'll have much more to talk about. But so far, I really did want to talk about the old school versus the new school, the way us old men used to conduct ourselves, and the way that the world has changed. Which,
As
hey,
far as
you
what?
know, well, like we started in the beginning, man.
Uh,
But the one thing that has never changed in the sport of boxing is that these kind of fighters, these kind of antics, leads to the anti-heroes that we all love and remember as our greats down the line. The Muhammad Ali's, the Floyd Mayweathers, the Mike Tysons, all of those anti-heroes have been, to some extent, the most memorable characters in the sport. And I wonder if men like Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez and Gervonta Tank Davis are one day be remembered like those other legends. Dream, we'll have to ponder those questions on another occasion. It is getting late. I thank every single one of our listeners that hopped in here with your comments or just listened in. Thank you very much. Mr. Vince Vargas with Fernando Vargas with the painted bleached tips. He says, Jersey Shore, say hi to Snooky. Yep, I remember just one guy. I think his name was The Situation. But
yeah.
but that show was hilarious.
The Cavs are here.
For the who?
You don't remember that? The Cavs are here? No.
No, no, no. I don't remember that.
You didn't watch it? You didn't
I know I didn't watch it. I just knew about it because everybody was talking about it, right? I never understood. Well, here's the thing. And not only did I never understand it, I was back then I was too poor to afford like cable television, especially
Oh.
satellite. So I never got to see any of that. But whatever. I mean, I just know there was a guy named Situation. I remember like the Situation. That's pretty cool name to call yourself the Situation, right? Like, oh, he's a situation, like a problem or something. But did you watch that show?
Yeah, but it's funny how you're thinking about it. It's like, so
Well, really,
he's a
right? I mean,
problem?
oh man, I got
So he's the
myself in a
most
situation.
problematic?
Yeah, the problematic, right?
Like, hey, imagine if they call you situation, like, hey,
The
it's your
dilemma.
boy. It's your boy.
The
It's your boy situation.
It's
You
the
know,
dilemma. It's
it's
a
the dilemma.
conundrum. The
The
conundrum.
conundrum. It's the it's the combobulation.
It's yeah, it's the epiphany. It's the epiphany. Yeah, yeah. So, Dream, thank you very much for hanging out with me. Thank you, homie Ricky, for coming over here. Mr. Vince Vargas, Mexican G, Everybody out there that chose not to comment, every
It's
single
the
one of our
autopsy.
listeners. Yeah, thank you very much for hanging in there with us. I appreciate that. I know it was a bit chaotic. I know we're all over the place. Sometimes we talk over each other. Hey, thank you very much. This is just a kind of you know direction these lives go. Sometimes we're eager to discuss the sport. We're eager to share our opinions about all of these things. Sometimes it's orderly, sometimes it's chaotic. It's all right. We'll do it all over again. For Dream 123, homie Ricky, and your interlocutor for the night, Warp Speed, I do hope you are doing well of health and that you have been staying sane of mind. Until next time, engage.
Goodbye. Yes. Sparkles. I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
God. My goodness.
It's it's an old school radio.
All right, man.